Aaron Robin. Wait. When did you start speeding, Tim?
24 seconds ago.
When I was going dun 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 dun. Because was it before I said Aaron Robinson's name or after? Is it right in the middle of Aaron's intro?
We have Aaron Robinson here.
Aaron Robinson in the house of what is currently called Hagerty Magazine, but that may change. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thanks very much.
I like your new beard.
Thank you.
It's a good look for you.
You didn't notice, but you've clearly noticed.
No, I wanted to save it until Tim said speeding.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You've done this show so many times. You don't realize that I'm completely antisocial until they start rolling the thing, and then I start talking because
so were you, by the way. You just kind of sat there looking at a pen, and you're like, "So what's going on?" But now
it's hard to.
It's not pizzazz.
Well, it's go time.
Right.
I'm on the stage.
Now we're on. It's hard to do, Zach Clappman can tell you, it's hard to do radio with your friends because while you're setting up and you come over and then you start talking about it, before you know it, you realize you have to say the same shit again 30 seconds later.
We all learned this from Adam Carolla, right? Who'd be really
He won't talk to you at all until
then he would disappear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he had a reason. He would disappear, and this was because Aaron worked with us on the car show on Speed. He would disappear because he'd be writing a book in his fucking car. He would. He wrote a book in his car while we're doing
his
that.
Car.
Yeah,
he sat in the Rolls Royce on the Mojave Airfield. So in between takes,
he did it a few times.
He was doing voice to book tape with his writer Mike. What's his name? Lynch.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah,
and he did it. I remember he had an ISF long-term loaner or something, and he would just be sitting in there in between takes. Yeah, but I was referring to more when you do his podcast. He doesn't I know I've known Adam for a long time. I like him. We're friends, but he won't even. He'll say hi and say what's up, and then leave and not talk to me again until they're rolling. And I understand why now, because it's because you want it to be good,
funny stuff on.
Yeah, you want it to be fresh. That's why Opie and Anthony fucking had people roll in mid show. They just would, you know what I mean? You start already on the show.
They're gonna run out of stuff.
Learning so much.
Yeah, man. But how are you with your new Hagerty?
4 or 5 weeks in.
5 weeks?
Yeah, 5.
I fucked up. I didn't. The Hagerty thing didn't make it to me.
I forgive you.
And,
are you on Facebook? You have a Facebook friends?
No, we only have a fan page.
Tire.
I don't have a real face. It's a fucking problem with the Facebook thing. It really is. It's an
sucks
issue.
Your day.
No, I don't have a Facebook page. I really don't.
You're missing so little.
I know. I don't regret it, except sometimes there's something cool that I want to be invited to. Like Hagerty Magazine's Facebook page.
This is why he is not depressed about the state of affairs in America.
No, I'm only depressed about myself. I have Twitter.
You don't have any room in your depression.
I wake up and read horrible things about Donald Trump every fucking day, and I want to hang myself.
Twitter seems like even a bigger waste of time
than Facebook. I couldn't tell you. I don't have Facebook.
I mean, let's face it. The internet is just your chance to meet 500,000 new idiots every day, right?
I'm a lot of other people's waste of time, so I'm not one to say.
Fair point.
A lot of people use on my show, both this show and the video.
But it's making
show
people angry about humanity because we sort of knew that there were idiots out there, but now it's you get in bed with them. You get to know all their personal, intimate thoughts, and that's terrible. I don't want to know that.
I just saw a video yesterday of a guy flat towing a car on a pretty long rope, and there was no one in the other car. and as you'd expect, 2 turns in, it went left. He went right.
Was it a blue truck or something?
It was a pickup truck pulling a white sedan, and the car went left, ripped off his tailgate because he hadn't tied it to the hitch. He tied it to the tailgate.
All this.
It was on a video,
Tim,
and it just went straight.
Look on Reddit, and it's meanwhile in Alabama or something.
That's exactly what it is.
The reason I know about this is because I was tagged about 1,000 times. Because have you seen my Lamborghini Log video? No.
Remind me.
Oh, here's the video. So I'm pretty sure because it's not YouTube, we can play this on the podcast.
It's gonna take over the audio.
That's okay. It takes over completely. Oh.
I don't know if there was audio.
Oh, that's a problem. It takes
It's
over
very
completely.
short.
No, it sounds like you can hear me talking, right?
Just
Tim, can you hear me talking right now?
Yeah, you're talking over subtly.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it's a quiet video, on a loud video.
He's going for a left side pass. He's riding on the curb now, turning in. Oh, it looks like he has broken a steering arm, and he has decided to end his race. And then, unbelievable.
All right, kill that.
So the reason I brought that up is because you learn that there's idiots, and I was like, that person votes. The person,
I know.
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that reminds me of the Lamborghini Log video, but actually I think less dangerous. So in the Lamborghini Log video, I am driving down a very windy canyon road, Spunky Canyon Road, if you must know, up in Santa Clarita.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I can see, it's a one take, and it's a 900 horsepower Lamborghini, a VF Engineering Huracan,
All right.
supercharged.
All right.
All of a sudden, there is this trail on the pavement. Imagine like, those like a cedar thing. Imagine you push it down and just like dirt. There's a trail of dirt that's weaving back and forth down the road, and sometimes it's in the lane and it goes back and forth. Yeah, Tim, can you pull that up? Can we play it on mute?
It's like if someone shot Pinocchio and he was limping and
I think the
following
relevant
him.
portion, Tim, is like 2 minutes, 20 seconds or something like that. So I'm driving down the road, and I'm going pretty quick. It's a 900 horsepower Lamborghini after all. And I come upon a guy in, I think it's an Explorer, dragging a log the size of, that's fast forward about 20 seconds, Tim. It's or just let it go. Are you hearing it now? I'm sorry to have technical discussions.
No, I turned the audio off.
Okay, cool, great. So here we go. Spunky Canyon Road, very fast Lamborghini, beautiful drive-by shot. Whoever took that and left their shadow. That was me, by the way. So here, now what we're gonna do is.
Were you actually in the car
Look
with
at,
them?
yeah, look at the line. See the line of dirt. Now it's on the right. Now it cuts across. See that line?
Yes.
And I had to do a fucking jump cut there because I had fucked up audio in this. This was during my audio experiment with gear phase and fail at it. So I'm mobbing, what I would consider to be a fairly decent clip.
Yeah, you're caning
in
it pretty
this
good.
fast Lamborghini. So the relevant corner is coming up on the right here. Watch this blind right-hander in a second. I would say if I had, I don't want to even guess what speed this is. But
I don't think I know this
right
road.
about here.
Oh, he's just mowing down signs with it.
He takes out a sign. So this fucking video, because of this
an
yokel dragging
idiot.
a log on a chain, that log is like, it's like the
big.
size of like a V12 engine. It's a giant,
Seriously.
solid, probably 3 foot in diameter, fucking huge log.
Destroying
Taking
public
out
property.
signs and shit. And that video was the #1 viewed video on Reddit for 24 hours. And it did, what are the numbers? What's the number, Tim?
2.3.
2.3 million. I'm telling you, it did 2.1 million in 24 hours.
Jeez.
And yeah, crazy, right? That's
Log
I
bomb.
almost threw that video away.
Stupidity sells, man.
Yeah. I almost threw that video away too. I came back and I saw Nick from VF Engineering. I said, I think we got to do it again. There was this guy dragging a log in the middle of the fucking video. I think we got to redo it. I was going to throw the whole thing away.
It's like chumming for woodchucks or something.
Yeah.
Fucking moron.
So tell me about Hagerty. We had Webster in here.
So my old coworker, Larry Webster, we used to work at Car and Driver together. He went there a year ago. And basically what's happening is Hagerty's had a magazine for 12 or 15 years that goes out to its members. Hagerty, for people who don't know, is a classic car insurance agency. And so a lot of people with classic cars have insurance. But in fact, it's about 800 and something thousand people. That's how many members they have. They call them members. And about 500,000 get the magazine, which makes it like the 5th largest car magazine in the world that you've never heard of.
Really?
So unless you have Hagerty Insurance. So yeah, it's an enormous.
I have to say, I don't have Hagerty Insurance. I tried to get it once, but I had points on my license and they wouldn't give it to me.
Try 'em again.
I think the points have lapsed.
Yeah?
Actually, I think it's been time. I should try again.
Yeah,
I want to get the magazine.
Well, when I became an employee, I just said, well, I should get Hagerty Insurance for my 2 cars since I'm now, working for the company. It was actually cheaper than my existing insurance. I've been with them for 20 years.
And
so
you saved money?
I saved money with Hagerty.
Wait, you
And
only
you
have 2
don't-
cars now?
You don't get a discount. Yeah, 2 old cars.
What are they?
Well, the Lamborghini Spada, 1970, and I have the 48 Buick. Well, it's
You have a
49.
48
Yeah.
Buick?
Yeah.
When did you get a 48 Buick?
Well, it's technically it's 49, but it's really 48. It's
Do
that's a long
dri-
story. But
do you drive it or is it a
Oh
project?
yeah, no, I drive it.
Really?
It's almost original car. It's about 34,000 miles, and it's original paint, and it's had a little interior work, but not much. But it's basically a 2-door special sedanette, and those cars were known.
A special what?
Sedanette.
Sedanette?
Yeah, it's what they call the 2-door sedan.
Oh.
so it's a
So that's
two-door.
like a grand, it's like the grand
funny.
coupe of
It's basically, Yeah, right. Right.
Can we get
the Cordoba of
point it out on our
1940s Buicks?
What's the closest?
Put in 48 special sedanette, and it'll probably actually my car will probably.
That happens a lot when we play the Google game.
So
I would like to come before I retire from this game. I would like to come drive both of your cars if you
anytime. Well, at the moment the Espada's down, it cracked an oil pipe.
Oh no!
Shocking.
40, is that 40 or 60?
No, that's actually a Cadillac.
Where's your sedanette, son?
Well, scroll.
Oh my God! All right there.
Well, that's the same car.
Okay, good
That's
enough.
not my
Yeah.
car,
That's
but-
beautiful. You kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Oh, that's fucking great!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the special was the cheap
I
Buick.
think you might be able to scroll to the right on that photograph, Tim.
It was
One
known.
day we're gonna figure out what that alarm is. There was no what?
Oh, you don't know what that is?
Nope. No idea.
It was kind of known for being bought by widows and preachers because it was the cheapest Buick you could get, and clearly you're not a family. In a family
That is
way,
the cheapest Buick you
in
could get?
1948. And
I got you a lot of Buick for
Exactly.
cheapest. That's a dope Buick.
that's why the widows and the preachers bought it. And it was, it's for people who aren't in a family way. So, I mean, it's anyway, now they're
It's the lonesome. It's the Buick lonesome.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Is that
The Buick
that,
the
frustrated.
Buick kidless, even though the sales bump at the time was like padded rear seat for child safety, I was
The
like,
Buick abstinence.
because it wasn't actually solid sheet metal in the back. It was safer for children. But
that's such a pretty car. Is
Yeah.
that what type of transmission is that?
that's
Is it
3 on the tree.
really?
Yeah.
Can I tell you, I've never driven a 3 on the tree before.
Really?
No, never.
It's fun.
I'd
Very
love to.
easy.
I know it's the
So
same
smooth.
as.
Well, it's a
same
floor
as-
shift. Just turn sideways.
Just turn sideways.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I've just never done it before. I would love to try.
Wow, I can't believe you've never driven a
How's
column
just
shift.
just circumstance.
How's your action on it? My friend's Valiant. It was like butter on a chopstick. It
Oh,
was so light and loose.
Butter on a chopstick. I like that. Yeah. I mean, you see what I had a 38 Buick, which was a floor shift, and the shifter's about this long, and when you move it, it goes, it goes, and it's not terribly suave, but you can see like what a huge innovation it was to move the column shifter to move to a column shifter, because I mean literally the first owner of my car was a Mrs. Odessa Hensley, and I just think it was a
perfect
great name.
It's a perfect name.
And
you should name that vehicle Odessa if you can handle the feminineness of naming your car.
Well, I don't name my cars, but okay. And she bought it brand new December 4th, 1948 at Woods and Van Diver Motor Sales in Franklin, Indiana. And I know this because it's all on the warranty card, but you can just imagine her going up Main Street in Franklin, Indiana, with gloved hand, 3 fingers on the shifter. And it's, it's so light and relatively, for a car that has no power steering, no power brakes, no nothing.
There's a giant steering wheel.
Yeah, it's a
Pizza
giant
pie.
wagon wheel steering
The
wheel.
firmest thing I've gripped in years.
So, widows and preachers.
What
but
engine is in that?
that's a 248 straight 8.
Oh, it's probably nice then.
Yeah.
Right? Is it nice and smooth?
Oh yeah, straight 8s. So it idles at 450 RPM. Yeah, I did some cylinder head work on it. It's like the only major work I've really done on it. And so when you're setting the initial valve clearances, you set it static with the engine off, but then it's right in the manual. You got to start the engine and the engine idles at 450 RPM, and
So it's easy to
so
do.
the tappets are just going like this.
Wow.
And so you stick the feeler gauge in, make sure and as you go down the 16 valves. It gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And I was talking about this with, of all people, Jay Leno once. And he goes, yeah, isn't that amazing? It just gets so quiet as you're taking them. Like, you've done this before. He says, oh yeah.
Yeah, of course
So-
he has.
Are straight 8s quieter than straight 6s? Like, is the balance similar where, it's two
No,
cylinders
if
doing the
anything, a
opposite?
6 is more naturally harmonically balanced. But a straight 8, especially, I mean, this is a car with basically a 3,000 RPM red line. I mean, so this car. Well, 3,500. So this car, the 3 on the tree is basically a 3-2-1 transmission. First gear is 3-1. Second gear is 2-1.
Oh.
First gear is 1-1. There's no overdrive. So, more or less. And then it's got a 410 rear end. So
so it's
so this thing's turning at 55 miles an hour. This thing's turning 3,500 RPM.
so it's maxed out.
Yeah, I mean,
Whoa.
it was made for a different era. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
during World War II, the national speed limit was 35 miles an hour. Exactly nobody thought that was a big imposition.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's all as fast as everybody drove anyway.
That's the comfortable speed that car
Yeah,
goes.
I mean, if you went on the highways of the war, and really a 48 Buick is really a 42 Buick, because
because they took a little time off, didn't they? To
well,
build some,
in 42, Buick came out with all new styling that was based on the Buick Y Job, which was the 38. It was the industry's first concept car, and There's a beautiful Harley Earl design, and the 42 Buicks were the production version of the Y job. Well, they launched this great new styling, and then the war came. So they stuck everything into barns and built tanks and aircraft engines, and then when the war was over, they just reloaded the stamping dies and made brand new 1946 42 Buicks.
It's a good thing there was no comment section back then, because people would have bitched there was no new cars for like 5 years.
Well, they were so desperate to get a car, they didn't care. As a matter of fact, the Special that's actually one of the rarest post-war Buicks, because what happened after the war, the Special was the cheap Buick. There was the Special, the Super, the Roadmaster, and the Special was the cheapest Buick. Well, after the war, people buy anything. I mean, they would buy literally anything. So Buick was constrained on the number of cars they could build because they had wartime, post-war shortages of raw materials. They were still grinding up B-17s and everything to turn back into cars. So Buick figured, well, heck, if people buy anything and we can only make so many cars, we're going to make more the more expensive cars.
Yeah.
Exactly, they make more money, and so they built.
That's basically Ford and GM right now with pickup trucks, right?
Exactly,
Pretty much.
Yeah. The $50,000.
We're gonna sell you,
$60,000 pickup truck. Anyway, that's actually a rare car, and so Odessa must have known what she was after when she went into Woods and Vendiver Motor Sales.
Was the body style the same no matter the trim, or is that that body style was the cheapest one?
Well, so back then, we complain about how similar GM cars are division to division, nowadays, but it's nothing compared. Back then, that body, basically, except for the outer fenders, was shared with every single division except Cadillac. Pontiac had a two-door Sonnet, exact same body. Chevy had a two-door Sonnet, exact same body. The hood stampings were slightly different, and then the outer fenders were slightly different. Everything else was pretty much the same. Interior trim, of course, was different.
I love how that car looks, man. I got. What color is yours?
Mine's black. And that's actually there were two wheelbases too. So Buick actually built two wheelbases.
SWB?
Yeah,
so is that a SWB or LWB?
So that's an SW. That's a short wheelbase. The long wheelbase, Cadillac had the long wheelbase, Oldsmobile and Pontiac and Buick, but Chevy didn't. So it's a weird.
I think that the proportions of that are just about right.
Short overhang, which is rare for that time. And
are you going to Pebble Beach that?
I've driven it. Well, it's not really.
You got a trailer
I've driven
to
it twice.
Peller Beach.
No, I've driven it to Pebble Beach twice.
Have you?
Oh yeah. And you drive
Take
up.
Fucking 14 hours.
it takes a while. Well, it's like now you know why. Like Grandpa was exhausted driving on bias ply tires.
100% know what you mean. I've sat in traffic in my Mustang for like 3 hours. I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's not even traffic. It's just like you're kind of fighting this thing, and mine drives pretty well, but still you're bias ply tires, and you're on these rural roads, and you're kind of working the thing, and of course there's no air conditioning, so you have all the wings open in the wind and everything, and it's about 10 hours to get up there. I say you were just flat out laid out. I mean, really,
is there other than swapping an engine, can you do like a final drive or something, or a 4-speed in these to make them a little more streetable?
It's a lot of surgery because these have what's called a torque tube. And so the connection, and most people they may have heard the term, but they don't really know what it is. The connection between the axle and the transmission's a rigid tube. Right? In most cars, there's like a U-joint, and then there's a spinning shaft, and then there's another U-joint down by the differential, and so the shaft just kind of floats between the two. Well, not in a Buick, and most cars of this age had torque tubes. And the reason was because it was a way to locate the axle, because if you didn't have, for example, the Buick has coil springs, which was quite an innovation back then.
Everything else had
but even if they had leaf springs, it was a way to rigidly fix the axle to the transmission. So it's really for like keeping the axle in place. And so what it is like, if you imagine on the back of the transmission, you have imagine a B-17 turret, and you've got like a gun sticking out, and then this ball that spins in a ring. Yeah. That's what's on the back of the Buick's transmission. The U-joint is actually inside the transmission. Then there's this turret, this like ball turret with a yoke sticking out of it, and then the tube literally bolts to that ball, and then the whole thing just floats, and then the shaft itself goes into the yoke. So that's what turns it.
So you can't upgrade one component of this.
That's the point. It's like it'd be a lot of machine work. And by the way, that giant ball, it turns. There's a seal that keeps all the transmission oil in. There's a big rubber seal that and this ball turns in that seal, and that seal is like a $3 part. But when it fails, and it does fail eventually, you have to remove the whole rear axle. You have to displace unbolt the torque tube and remove the whole rear axle backwards just to replace this frickin' $3 seal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the joys of torque.
Joys of ownership.
Reason they don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah. No, but it's so. I mean, look, in the land of collector cars, that style of car right now, if you wanted one, is pretty cheap. Yours is special, okay?
Well,
but unless you have some super, super rare something or other, if you wanted a pretty cool car from the 40s, they cost nothing.
40s cars are not zooming in value. 50s cars are not zooming in value.
I really like
60s American cars are not.
There's a Buick from the 50s that is it? I want to say Wildcat, but it's not.
That would have been the 60s.
That
would have been the 60s. Well,
God
the
damn.
Riviera is the famous.
I mean, you
the
want
53
an oddball?
Riviera.
There's a movie called Bowfinger.
Yes.
Do you remember the movie?
Martin movie
called Bowfinger?
I'd never seen it before, and I was watching it on Netflix a little while ago.
Do you remember the
I didn't
Buick
make it
they
all the way
steal in
through.
that car?
No.
There's a red Buick that is driven by the producer, which I think is Robert Downey Jr.
Pre-Coke
Tim,
or
do you know
post-Coke?
this one? Bowfinger Buick. There, it's probably there. They steal this guy's car. Yeah, that's it. What's that?
That's a 53 Riv, I think.
That Buick.
Yes, I remember that scene.
That's not a great picture. Any chance we can find a better image than that?
She's like
but
53 Buick
that
Roadmaster.
Buick is beautiful, and they imply in the movie it's super rare, but I don't really recall if it actually is. That actually a super rare Buick?
Screen grab.
My Buickness goes from 38 to 49. After that, they got kind of lumpy, and GM styling for most of the 50s. I become a Mopar man in the late 50s.
Okay.
57, 58 forward look cars. I had a 58 DeSoto. They're the most beautiful.
If I was going to go
50s
50s, I
cars.
think the Continentals are really where it's at for me.
Oh, well, that's 60s.
Is
You
that
mean
60s?
The square,
no, not
the
suicide.
JFK
No, not the suicide door Contis. The ones that were not.
Oh, you want a
Lincoln.
Mark II?
A Continental Mark II.
Yeah.
I'm about that.
Fifth
Those
wheel
those
back.
are really cheap.
Tim, give me a picture of a Continental Mark II.
Those are really cheap.
Are they real?
Oh,
are
yeah,
they?
nobody wants them. I don't know why.
What?
Even though they're beautiful.
Don't tell me.
Yeah,
shit
I mean,
like
you can
that.
buy like a really nice one for about 35 grand.
Fuck off. Oh no, not after this podcast. Let me tell you. Look at that.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not a huge Ford styling fan, but Lincoln had a couple of cars. The Zephyr.
Yeah.
57, 58, basically the car that became the Batmobile.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful car.
Give me a good front angle. Look at that. I mean, that is a pretty fucking car.
I like this. I like the profile
William
shape. It's like
Clay
the first,
Ford's one contribution to the Ford.
It's like the Thunderbird.
That was his
obviously.
pet project.
It's bigger
Yeah.
than Thunderbird, and it's basically, this was like one of those spared no expense. I'm sure Aaron knows a lot more about this than me, but like at the time, the quality of this car and the quality of like a Bentley were not hugugely different.
Yeah, I mean this was Lincoln's
Give me an
big
interior
run
shot.
at Cadillac, which kind of owned the luxury world.
Have you ever driven one of these things?
I've been in one, but I've never driven one.
Was it amazing, or was it just kind of same as
It's
other
a giant.
That is not correct.
Yeah,
That is not.
that's
the
a little
correct
later.
interior.
That's a '69 Conti.
No,
No,
that's
that's even later.
Holy, look at the paneling. Wait.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Macassar
Wow,
wood
the
trim.
paneling's amazing.
What the fuck is up with these interiors that
It's
are
like
not from the 50s?
Italian house in the '70s.
We need a 50s interior. That is it. That's the correct interior.
No, I don't
No?
think so.
I think it
It's a
is.
56 Mark II.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it
Those
is.
toggles are awesome.
Yeah, the toggles.
That car had round gauges?
I thought so.
Okay.
You want to go dig more. If you want to find
That does not look right, but I
All right,
you know, it
56
could be.
Mark II allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Allegedly.
All right. All
Well,
right.
allegedly.
If it's on the internet, it must be right.
I'm glad they're the only thing keeping me from buying one at this point. Oh, that could be it. Is that it?
That looks
It's a cool steering wheel.
Lincoln Premier.
No.
Or Lincoln Premier. That's what I was thinking. Not the Zephyr.
They're big. They're big as fuck, and I got nowhere to keep them. But goddamn it.
Yeah, I know that's the problem too. I'm kind of shopping. I kind of want my DeSoto back, something like it, but yeah, I need space for a 19-foot long car, which I'm a little short on at the moment.
Old cars are gigantic. Like, all
Well,
of them.
especially old cars in the late 50s. I mean, they're just
They're
seriously
the
gigantic.
Interior space to overall length ratio is just
Exactly.
And the only thing that's worse is like what is it, the 70, like a 78 Continental, 76. What year is the huge like
Yeah, it'd
like
be
the Uncle Buck car?
But well, 76, 77 was like when everybody did the big slim down. So it was
Yeah.
like all the 73s, 74s. You know, like the
that one.
Yeah.
That's pulled out.
And those cars are like almost 6,000 pounds too. They were.
There's
not
some
only
guy who's
big,
got one of these things.
They were really heavy.
You see the Boost Brothers? They put on Instagram today. They just bought a new thing. They bought like an 88 whatever, and they were like, what should we do with this? And I was like, you should have a music festival in the hood.
Yeah.
Because the hood is humongous.
They bought like an 88 town car and 86 town car.
It's so big.
But those things from the 70s, I mean, like people think my Buick's heavy. 48 Buick, 49 Buick, whatever. It's not. It's 3,600 pounds. That was the shipping weight. It's 3,600. It's basically a steel balloon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just nothing in it.
Yeah.
But by the time they got to that era, they were really heavy.
I just drove. Corbin Goodwin. He's a friend of ours who's he built that crazy RX-7 thing that I made the video of.
Yeah.
He built a Rolls Royce. He built a '78 Rolls Royce with a big turbo on the 6 3/4.
Okay.
Intercooled. There it is.
6 3/4.
There it is. Pull that up from the Instagram. And
there's a roadkill car.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a manual gearbox. And it has exterior plumbing, which I love, but it weighs 4150, I think. And it makes.
You must have stripped it out because those things are like
the front. He took
5,000
the front
pounds.
seats out and has like bucket seats.
So he drives it from the back seat.
No, I have the front seats in my house, and he
Hightower.
put racing seats in it. It has a manual gearbox and good suspension tuning. Look, and 400 horsepower at the wheels. It's actually quite fast.
Cool, man.
It's pretty fucking cool.
He's writing for Moto IQ now too.
Oh,
for
really?
a short plug, yeah.
Oh, neat.
So go look at
Good
that.
for Corbin.
So anyway, anybody who's getting Hagerty magazine, we are completely rebooting it. It's going to look like Architectural Digest. I saw
Really?
mock-ups to the next issue, and it lands on your desk with a solid thud.
And it's gonna look like
really heavy
Architectural Digest?
stock paper. It's big square cut. Yeah, it's a total. People won't
cool.
recognize it.
Cool.
A
I'm
total
stoked.
revamp of the magazine.
Are you doing editorial pieces in it as well?
Oh
or
yeah,
is it-
yeah. Well,
So what kind of
90
stuff are you
pages
writing
of
about?
editorial.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of
Well,
stuff are you writing about?
What can I talk about? We have a super big story that I can't talk about.
Wait, when is this? When is the issue coming? Do you know?
It's going to be. Everybody's going to have it in their hands by late November.
Late. Oh, so okay.
Yeah, so it's a little ways off.
So but we can't hold this podcast for 4 months.
But I'll
so-
come back and talk
Okay,
about
cool.
We have a huge story I can't talk about.
Huge story.
You'll
people.
like it. You'll be pretty stoked.
All right, well,
Aaron's
give me,
best
give me
pickup line.
non-specifics.
Can you get the magazine if you don't have insurance?
Not yet,
Okay, not yet.
but there's talk. So
Could be it's like an expensive magazine.
well,
Almost as expensive as Porsche's the 000 magazine. Right?
Well, it's sold as an upgrade, so it's like $30 a year. You get that in roadside in addition to your insurance. So a lot of people get it.
you
I
can
mean,
read the magazine
more
while
than
you
five-
wait for your fucking tow
right,
truck.
exactly. More than 500,000 of the 800,000 customers get the magazine. So it's a big percentage of the people opt to spend the extra $30. But so if they put it on the newsstand, it might limit the inclination to that. I mean, the whole point of the magazine, the website, and all that stuff is to get people excited about Hagerty, obviously, to come and join. And so they.
But is it mainly like classic cars? Are you doing new car reviews? Are you doing all that? And
We're
more?
doing some new cars in the back. We've got like a 4-page section. I'm writing a little industry column because, I'd be at car shows and people be like, "That a Lamborghini? Yeah. So who owns Lamborghini? Doesn't Chrysler own Lamborghini?" It's like, yeah, not in 30 years. So they'd be like, so it's like people really kind of don't know what's going on in the industry because that's not their business. They don't know what's happening. Who owns Aston Martin now? So I pitched a kind of an industry column in the back, which I'll be writing, and just about kind of like what's going on, and obviously oriented towards people who are interested in classic and special interest cars and specialty makes and stuff. But it'll be kind of to keep people in touch with what's happening with the industry now. I mean, for example, Jaguar just announced, was it yesterday, the day before, that henceforth they will produce electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So that was a big, Ian Callum made this,
Boy, I
rather
can't
bold
wait.
statement. Says, I may have designed the last internal combustion engine car for Jaguar. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But did you see the electric E-Type they had?
I did. And you know what? Like, I think it's a neat idea, I guess, but I drove an electric Beetle, EV West down in San Diego. Great, good guys. I drove their electric Beetle, which was super cool because it was fast, actually.
Yeah.
It had like really good air conditioning. It was
You're not going
AC.
to complain about the clatter of the flat
No,
four
but
air-cooled
there's the pic. No.
engine
the
being
classic
gone.
Jag, Tim. That one, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's called an E-Type Zero, and they have taken an actual E-Type and put a
Probably
electric
weighs
drive in it.
less than the powertrain in a E-Type Jag weighs 805 pounds.
Fuck off.
Wow.
In a
Engine and transmission.
Iron 6-cylinder.
And an iron transmission case.
I pulled the engine out of
805 pounds.
my Pontiac once, and the limit of the cherry picker was like 700. And if I pushed the engine like 2 inches, it started to
whole thing
lift
would
the
go
back
over.
wheels. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, my Buick Straight almost took me over once with a cherry picker. I weighed the Lambo engine once. That was 570 pounds.
I mean, I think, look, if it's kind of neat, I think, but isn't a big portion of that of the Jag anyway?
Electrifying
Sound.
classic cars seems supremely ridiculous. I mean, because why bother? They don't get driven that much.
Yeah. I think
it depends
you're
on the
not doing
car.
the world a huge favor. I mean,
No.
I guess if you want to drive one every day, maybe.
If
Like
you
the
wanted-
Beetle, I think the Beetle is super slow, and it sounds like meh and whatever. So if you can electrify it and give it some
And it
torque and probably
stinks,
some
too.
it stinks too. Like if you can enjoy it more often, that's fine.
Yo, like
but
this
if
guy,
it's
like,
essential to
commuted
the
in
engine,
San Diego, he had like a 5-mile commute in San Diego. Like,
Yeah.
that's a great vehicle for that.
totally.
Yeah.
But like, what's the market for an electric E-Type? Honestly,
Less than for
London.
a gas party type.
less than for one of those lightweights,
Yeah,
right? Maybe.
Exactly. I mean, I saw a guy with an electric MGB once. I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. Because that car's not worth anything. It was a rubber bumper MGB. And the conversion was beautiful. I mean, the quality of the conversion was excellent. And
Some of these guys do a really good job.
Yeah.
The electric DeLorean that we drove at in Texas.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I
AMC
forgot.
built an electric
Yeah.
DeLorean, which I heard is at Google's headquarters now. I think
Oh, really?
Google bought it to display.
Okay.
That makes
But
sense.
it drove really nice, actually. It was the DeLorean experience was uniquely complimentary to an electric powertrain.
And I mean, for some of these cars, it's going to be an improvement, over what
Huge.
was
The
there.
Beetle was a massive improvement.
And the DeLorean wasn't exactly a ball fire.
No.
Isn't Icon putting Tesla packs into derelicts now?
Apparently, they have at least one Tesla-powered derelict that
Wow.
they're doing. Yeah, John Ward.
that's a serious job.
This fucking guy, man. I love John Ward.
Those guys that's really Santa's workshop up there.
They're keeping
they're
busy.
they're not afraid of anything.
You see the watch?
No, they're not.
No, he's on
See
the
it?
watch now.
Google
Watch is
Icon
cool.
Doozy watch. Singer came out with their watch,
Oh, yeah.
and not to be left behind. Wait, I think
I was at the
That's-
Singer
it's not
party
that.
at Pebble Beach.
go to Icon's Instagram, Icon 4x4. So Singer came out with the watch,
Right.
And did you see it?
No,
It's badass.
I did see it. Oh yeah, I was at the
It's
Singer
got
party.
the dials in,
Yeah,
dials
yeah.
in, dials. Yeah, so that's the Icon watch. So this is a really neat
really
brand.
cool.
John Ward is obsessed with these things, and God, they've got a fucking name. So I can't remember the name of this watch. So the jump hour. It's called a jump hour. So the hours don't move smoothly. It jumps every hour.
So it just goes
Dick,
to the next
dick,
number.
Yeah, and that's like the thing. I
Okay.
think this watch is
I'm taking-
$11,500.
I'm taking it that it's 5:30 at the time that
It is
photo was taken.
530
Okay.
or 529 in that picture.
It's a really cool idea, especially with vintage gauges from 30s, 40s, 50s, like the old, almost like radio dials they used to have, or like vacuum tubes and stuff,
Yeah.
and just having that on a watch is pretty
Pull
rad.
up the Singer
Hey,
watch.
P1800.
Well, is he making his own movement? Because that is all
That
kinds
is
of crazy.
That is a
expensive.
custom movement.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
He isn't personally
He isn't
making
making
it. There's
it,
the
but-
back. Yeah, pull up the back. It is a unique movement. That it's very pretty display back. Yeah, look at that. That is with the gecko in there.
I'm
the
always
doozy watch.
I'm always amazed that he can find customers for the stuff because it's
Holy
like
is he.
you can buy a Land Cruiser for $8,000, or you
Yeah.
can pay him $200,000.
You know,
to be
all
a
them Land
Cruiser.
Cruisers in his lot. He's got like 40 Land Cruisers out there. They're all bought. They're all pre-orders. He's killing it.
Crazy.
Timmy, pull up the Singer watch real quick.
I mean,
just
I
to
was
show
like
them
at the
what it's
Singer
like.
party at Pebble Beach, and I'm going, okay, I could have one of these,
These
or a
motherfuckers.
brand new Ferrari 812. I mean, that's what they cost.
Yeah.
know.
Everyone says that's it. So the Singer watch is a really, really neat piece. So
It's too many.
there's
too
a
many
lot
things for
going
me.
on with this.
There's a
Now,
lot
this
going
watch
on.
is a custom movement as well. This watch is I think 40,000 or 45,000, and those dials move concentrically around, which is
Wow.
so.
All
wait,
right.
what? So right now it looks like it is. Wait,
All four of us are going to stare at it until we figure out what time it's telling
I don't
us.
even fucking know what time it is. It looks like it's 10. It's so the outer ring is the hours.
Is it 10:44?
440.
No, it's 10.
If you want to know what time it is,
I
buy a
think.
Casio.
I don't know. I think it's 1040. No, it's 10. I think it's 1010.
It
I
might
think
be
the orange
10-120.
line at the bottom, it's 1010. See, the outer ring is hours, and the second ring in is minutes,
gotcha.
and then the entire inside assembly is a dual zone chronograph, I believe. So it can time two things at once. Fucking badass looking, right? I mean, $40,000 it better.
I mean,
but
it's a little busy for me, but it's impressive engineering.
it's just
I will
it's
say
a
that.
neat little piece of hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, let's put yourself in the shoes, bro, of the guy who's about to drop
True.
$600 on a car. Wouldn't you get a watch with the matching leather band?
Well, it's like the 918. It was like, oh, would you like the additional Porsche Turbo S?
911
You want to just check that box?
That was just an option code. Yeah, I would
It
like
was,
this
yeah.
car.
Yeah.
While I'm waiting for my.
And you know what the take rate was, Aaron Robinson, for the extra car?
What was it? You know this?
Yeah.
What was it?
100%.
100. Really?
100%.
Was it really?
Yes, it was 100% take rate. Someone at Porsche went, "Hey, watch this shit."
Yeah.
I got to shout out Porsche.
We
right
need
now.
a revolution so bad.
I do have to shout them out because they hooked up. It took all summer of bugging them, but they hooked up a Targa 4 GTS with a manual gearbox for adventure.
Oh,
drives.
cool.
Nice.
Oh, that's gonna be a good car.
That is a good vacation car.
And I think Thaddeus is meeting us in Germany and joining us for a
Sweet.
couple of legs of the trip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I am a fan of that Targa. I
Oh,
have to
the
say. I'm not
Targa
a fan of the
4
old Targa,
GTS.
but I'm a fan of the new
No,
Targa.
the new Targa is
Yeah,
the shit.
The old Targa I think is silly.
The
But-
glass roof one?
Yeah, because the wind flow is weird, and no, all the older, going right back to the original.
All the way back to the 70s
Yeah.
and the 80s. You're like, no Targa.
Well,
But
I mean,
I
have you
agree.
ever driven
Yes,
a Targa?
though.
I mean,
Yeah, I
they're
drove Alex
really
Roy's 87.
loud
It was nice.
and you know.
I think they look
get a lot of-
terrible.
Yeah, they look terrible, and I mean,
love the look.
wouldn't you rather have a coupe? I mean, the
I
coupe
would
is
rather have a
beautiful,
coupe.
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I would rather have a coupe.
And instead, they have this like open drawbridge thing.
Right.
It just looks.
It's a big empty
terrible.
gap
And-
middle that doesn't look
and-
good.
Yeah,
I like the Targa roof in the Vets very much. So here's the new Targa. Thank you, Tim. Come on. New Targa.
It's cheaper than a Cabrio, and it's better looking and more
Way
flexible.
better looking.
Yeah.
Aren't there? They're all four-wheel drive, though. That's the thing. You cannot get a two-wheel drive Targa.
no
I
drift
think that
Targa.
was true.
They're all fours.
I believe so.
now.
But that'll
There's
change.
a 4 and a 4S.
And now a Ford GTS, which is what I'm getting,
that
which is
will-
bigger turbos. The GTS has bigger turbos, which when you are in the Swiss Alps, will be very nice.
You need. No, that'd be very nice.
Thad's birthday is while
17th.
we're there, the 17th.
Yep.
He doesn't know yet, and this podcast will air while we're over there. But when he moved to Dubai, he left his Omega Seamaster watch at my house, and it was beat to fuck. Super beat. He hadn't worn it in a while, and I had it serviced and like fully restored, and it looks brand new, and I'm bringing it over.
Oh,
to him.
sick.
Yeah, it looks fresh as
Nice.
fuck now. Yeah, it'd be nice.
That's
My
awesome.
birthday is on the 17th as well, man.
Do you have an old Omega
I can
watch
drop
you've
some
left?
shit off
You
at
want to
your
hide
house.
some shit in my closet for a few
Go
years?
leave a Pinto at his house.
Leave a Mustang in his house.
So yeah, I heard you took a flying lesson.
Oh yeah, I flew an airplane.
Yeah?
Hannah got me. It was a ruse. Hannah loves a good ruse.
Okay.
She led me down this path that we were having brunch with her friends. Which
We're gonna have a
would've been-
threesome with a girl. Just
would've been
kidding.
funny, right? We were gonna have
That was
brunch.
the last one.
We were gonna have brunch and brunch. Quickly she.
We know what brunch is. You don't have to
The
explain it.
animon. No, brunch is usually
thought
a
that's where this was
bagel and
going.
lox. Yeah, that's exactly where it's going.
It's a combination of breakfast.
Anyways,
and-
surprise flying lesson. So it was Jesus. What was the plane? You probably know the plane better than me. Go back to my
Low
Instagram,
wing
Tim.
or high wing?
Low wing.
Okay.
Uh,
Cherokee probably.
Probably. I think that sounds
It's a Piper-
right.
Piper
Piper
product.
with no fucking air conditioning.
Yeah.
It was the really hot day too. There it is. It's that plane.
Which of the last 40 really hot
It was
days? are
yeah,
you
a
talking
couple
about?
days ago. It was really hot. I had a really nice aircraft instructor named Hunter.
Nice.
Who was young. He was like 23.
Yeah.
I was
Future
like,
airline pilot.
how long you been flying for? He said, since he was 13. I was like, all right, you're the boss, sir.
Yeah.
And you go through all the checks, 20 minutes or so of checks,
Yeah.
test the fuel, all that
Yeah.
shit. And we're flying. I did everything. I taxied to the runway. I took off. And I landed. I had a little assistance with the landing.
Yeah.
We flew a loop. Like we took off Santa Monica Airport, headed over the ocean.
Right.
Flew up the coast to like almost to Oxnard.
Okay.
And then turned around and kind of made a 1/8, did some like S's and like
Nice.
we didn't. I didn't want to do stalls. I didn't want to do a stall. He said I could. He said he's like, you're doing good. You could do a stall. I was like, I don't really. Next time.
Stalls are a little freaky.
I don't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And then we came back, and when we came in for the landing, went over the coast and then like turned left like right before the Santa Monica Pier and looped around over Century City. I would have liked an extra mile or two to line up to the runway because I feel like I had to make a 90-degree right turn.
Yes.
Like pretty close to the runway.
Yes.
And for a first time, I feel like I did not have, between the descent from 1,500 feet and the angle, I feel like I didn't have enough time to adjust.
Yes.
Which is not a slight against the instructor.
You really
anyway,
have to
but
do about 50 landings before you're really kind of
was
Well, it depends
okay.
on the person.
It was a little sloppy, but I landed. It was all right.
So, you know,
dude, it's fun. You could fly a plane. If you've ever
I fly a plane. You
no,
do know
no,
that?
but like, I know you do. Yeah. You do. You have
I
a
bought a plane.
license. You bought a plane.
Yeah, about
really?
2. I'm on my second one already.
Really?
Yeah, you go.
What's
through
your
them
second
fast.
one?
A
Is
Cardinal.
Hagerty hiring? 'Cause if you're on your second plane.
Cardinal. Well, I don't own them both. I did Cardinal, Cessna Cardinal.
Really?
77, which seems really old, but is actually quite new. But it's really cool. It's
Yeah,
totally.
this plane was like a 75 or something. It was old as shit. Yeah,
they're not old. That's not old for my 77 is one of the newer planes in my field. We're all flying around in these old tin cans because the new ones are so expensive.
Is that it right there? A Cessna Cardinal?
Yeah, well, that's a computer image, but yeah.
Oh, that's from Flight
You could
Simulator?
actually, if you put my tail number in, it'll come. You'll see a picture come up.
Oh, what's your tail number?
Just put in N20214.
N20214 for anyone who wants
Yeah.
to stalk Aaron's plane. Get rid of the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was all right. So here's
There
the
it
thing.
is.
Oh, there
First
it is.
picture. That's my plane.
Cool.
So I always thought that small planes in the air would feel slow because you have no perspective speed. Is that true?
Yes.
Like you look out the front and you're just kind of.
Yeah, they feel slow. It feels slow even when.
Well, they are right, in
kinda
aviation terms. They're kind of slow. Yeah,
It
I mean, you
feels
probably
slow.
went 110 knots, which
I
is
did.
130 miles an hour.
I did. That's
Yeah.
about what the fastest I saw. But it did not feel fast.
No, it's
but
not
it was.
fast.
I mean, look, flying is fun. It's the sensations of it are kind of similar to sailing, actually, or to,
it's exactly
to
like
ocean
sailing,
boating.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Sailboat for the sky. It always needs some. It's always broken.
Yeah,
It's
and I
it's
actually
just
got
like sailboat.
I got
Doesn't
fairly
run on
comfortable
wind.
with like basic flight,
Yeah.
and like even like kind of doing some corners and
You,
stuff.
you get comfortable with being in Monterey in 2 hours.
Yeah, it was nice. It was actually a really fun way to spend a couple hours. The problem was the next thing from that is pretty much like full commitment. It's like you start to go through training and classrooms, and you're going towards like there's nothing in between that one first flight and going to get a license. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I tell you, you want to clear about 6 months out of your life of all the
Yeah.
other extraneous stuff,
That's
and
kinda
then,
what
and
he
do
said.
it and get it done, and then you can let other stuff back into your life. But for the 6 months that you're trying to get that ticket, it's you kind of want.
So you can't buy a seat in a plane every now and then and go, I want to go up for a little bit,
Well, you can
take a ride.
Yeah,
and
that
fly a
guy
little bit,
Hunter,
like,
he'll
okay.
fly with you
Okay.
as long as you want to sit there and go. Da, 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 But
Yeah.
it gets pretty boring. I mean, you kind of want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then in my case, I wanted to kick my instructor out of the seat. I was like, I need your fat ass out of my plane. now.
No, this guy was great. Actually, I really I'll shout out Proteus in Santa Monica, Proteus. But it was really fun. If you're into cars,
Yeah.
you should definitely try it once.
Well, and it's a total
great way to spend $200.
For me, it was like a
pretty
total. It's like a total step back in time. It's a totally analog. Even though we have little computers and stuff, it's a totally analog thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's really unlike
This lever moves a
Yeah,
cable,
exactly.
which moves the flap.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
It's really.
And you've got this flat four, basically a giant Beetle engine out there, air cooled, flap, and you're adjusting the mixture on it like it's a Model
really
T.
is like a Beetle engine.
Oh yeah, it's
very similar.
Mine's a 260 cubic inch Beetle engine, something
Yeah.
like that. So it's it's just a giant, and everything's just so old school, and the test, all the learning and the test. I mean, even the FAA probably hasn't updated the test in 30 years. I mean, the questions on GPS are so crude and rudimentary, even though we all fly GPS now.
Well, the GPS that he was using in this plane felt crude and rudimentary, although he insisted it was brand new.
Yeah, well,
Which does aviation GPS just look weird and ghetto as opposed to like a
Well, it kind
I
of
mean, it's
depends.
not like a car GPS, but
Well, there's a lot of people buy Garmin stuff, which I think looks old fashioned. I actually fly. I'm what we call an iPad flyer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I use a program called ForeFlight, which runs on Apple stuff. And so I bought an iPhone, like a refurbished iPhone on eBay. I don't connect it to the cell network or anything. It's just my plain phone. And it's a 6S Plus 5.5-inch screen, and it mounts right to my yoke. And it gives me the moving map, so I know where I am on the moving aviation map. Plus, it gives me traffic from, we have this thing called ADSB, and I can give you a whole long explanation about how the old air traffic system is changing in America and going from radar to GPS, but I won't do that. But anyway, point is, I have me on the map, and then I have all the planes around me, which in this crowded airspace
is important.
Very nice to have.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
since I've been training, we've had 2 collisions out there off the Palos Verdes.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So
Harrison Ford and
no, that wasn't a collision. He just landed on the wrong. He landed on a taxiway. No, we had
a golf course.
Satavia run into a Bonanza, 3 people killed, and we had another one. There was another one too.
I'm good on that shit.
So it helps to know when there's people around you.
Yeah.
It's crowded airspace.
It was definitely a cool thing to do. Anyone who does it and enjoys it, and like I could really see how I could have, if I wanted to, I could become you in terms of this. You know, if you're into the
spending money now,
then right. But the nuance of the numbers and the radios and there's shit to do and and it's fun. But you gotta, like you said, you gotta commit.
You gotta commit. I mean, the thing also, the test. The test is like, I tell people, it's like, you know what dressage is with horses?
My sister does that.
Not a sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a sport.
Yeah, so you make the horse do like walk sideways and do backwards and do funny things that horses never do. And the whole thing is to show your mastery over the horse, right? It's got nothing to do with the horse racing or jumping or what horses do in the wild. It's just totally artificial, made up crap that you make the horse do just to prove that you're a master of the horse. Well, that's what the FAA flying test is basically. You have an examiner sit there in the right seat while you're flying the test, and you do all of the stuff that you'll never do ever again. You do 360 degree steep turn. You have to roll out plus or minus 10 degrees from your original heading, plus or minus 100 feet of your original altitude. You know, you're never going to do this in flying, but they do it so that, you know, you demonstrate your mastery of the plane. Basically, the 6 months you're going to spend getting a pilot's license, as far as the FAA is concerned, they're just trying to get you to learn enough so you don't kill yourself in the first 10 minutes. 20 minutes, you're on your own. But the 10 minutes, they said, listen, we trained you enough. You're not going to kill yourself in the first 10 minutes. Go and learn how to be a pilot on your own.
Wow.
You know, and that's really, I mean, the minute you get your pilot's license, that's kind of like when you really start learning, because then you fly to airports you've never been to, and what do I do here, and what's the procedure, and the whole idea of like I'm going to take my plane and I'm going to fly to, you know, whatever, Sedona. It's like, that's unfathomable when you're learning, and then one day you're like, okay, I'm gonna fly the plane to Sedona,
and then you just kind of
what do I do? Yeah,
that was, I mean, it was sort of similar. I when we went to Thailand, it was like, holy shit, I'm going to sail this boat in an ocean I've never fucking been in, to a place I've never been there. You know, fortunately, our charter company made it pretty easy for us.
But that's kind of why I did it, because as you get older, it gets harder to have these kind of experiences. I mean, you know, the first time you go down into the pattern and you're flying the plane and you're landing, and, you know, my instructor's like, just remember that landing a plane is probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. Yeah. So it's like, you know, so they're like, you're down in the pattern and you're staring at that runway and those numbers get big and you come in a big steep angle, and you're kind of like, I mean, I had to, so, you know, a lot of idiots have done this before me, and they survived. So I'm probably gonna survive this.
That was exactly how I thought it went wheel-to-wheel racing for the first time.
Yeah, it's like, people have done this before. I'm not the first person to do this, even though it feels like it.
You know? That's how Matt encourages me to go wheel-to-wheel, because I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for chump. He's like, there's people out there that are way worse than you are, dude.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, I mean, once you
Randy
get into
Quaid
flying,
in Independence Day land that fucking crop duster, didn't he? I can do this shit.
That's exactly. I mean, it's like that. And once you start flying, you realize how many idiots there are out there. I mean, you think you're a bad pilot, and then you hear these idiots on the radio. Oh my god! But anyway, so it's like you have to push yourself through this wall of like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to survive this. And then, you know, and then so as you get older, it's like a little harder to find these experiences. And so that's the biggest reason I did, is because it is pretty challenging.
How far have you flown yourself?
Well, we flew to Cascade, Idaho for the eclipse, which
Oh, really?
was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
We flew. We did it in 2 legs because we went to Monterey first because the eclipse was the Monday morning after Pebble Beach.
Oh,
Did any
how
of you guys go to
convenient.
Pebble Beach?
No, I
Okay.
had to skip it this year.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss anything. I mean, it was cool. It was amazing.
I love Pebble Beach. I'm gonna go back. I had to skip this year for other reasons. But
Yeah, I
whatever.
want to go to Dream Cruise. I haven't been to Dream Cruise in years.
It was so fun a few years ago, and I went last year, and I was kind of disappointed.
Really? Why?
Yeah, just after going to Pebble, it doesn't seem that. I think it depends on. I don't know.
I think
It
the
probably
cars are
depends
more
on-
approachable at Dream Cruise. Like
Well,
I
they're
go,
certainly
like,
fucking
I would
approachable.
buy
I'm
one of
sure
those.
you-
Yeah, because there's just a lot of there's a lot of $10,000 piece of
I
crap
saw
there.
some. I saw. Don't get me wrong. I saw some amazing stuff. Have you ever seen like a 70-year-old white dude and his wife in an Impala on hydraulics? I mean,
No.
it was.
Not a lot of those in LA.
I was stunned, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. Yeah, no, you see crazy shit. It is fun. Dream Cruise is fun, but God, Pebble really desensitizes you if you're there.
Yeah, well, the thing about Pebble is there is stuff there that you can't see anywhere because the pulling power of that one Sunday morning
Yeah.
is just I mean all those
Well,
GT40s
now they keep
lined
adding
up.
activities, so that's just all the more reason for these people to go.
It's too much now though. It's kind of I think we've passed peak Pebble.
Have we?
Well, I was thinking that as I was walking around Concorso, which I go every year,
Mm-hmm.
and Concorso was a bit thinned out this year, and I was like, and I mean the Ferrari Club went off and did their own thing on Saturday.
What did the Ferrari Club do?
I don't know. They had some people were like, yeah, they're on this many
Really?
Ferraris because the Ferrari Club went off and did their own thing. I'm like, on Saturday is the Concorso. Why
Yeah.
aren't they here? And a lot of it is just people got pissed off. I mean,
Lost its luster.
well, okay, so it's $125 to park your car and $175 to walk in the door. Now, most car shows, they either charge the guy who brings his car or they charge the people.
Oh, that's both? It's both?
Oh, yeah, they charge
Yeah.
you both.
Fuck off.
Well, yeah,
That's crazy.
But that's standard. It's like all of
Is
that.
it like the Quail where there's like open oyster bar too?
No.
Really?
Concorso
That's
Italiano.
$175 allows you to walk into the show.
Oh, that's stupid.
then
I
you
wouldn't.
can-
I wouldn't go either. The Quail, at least for your $400, you're getting those champagne and oysters.
$500,
Is it $5?
yeah.
Well, 2 years ago when I paid, it was.
They're
$4.
charging for Dawn Patrol now. So,
I'm sorry?
So if you buy a regular concourse ticket, I think it's like
They charge you extra for Dawn Patrol.
So they charge $380 for the regular ticket. It's $750 if you want the Dawn
No
Patrol ticket.
way.
I am not kidding you.
You may be right. We may be past peak Pebble.
That's what I
Or
think.
it's just further proof there's too many goddamn rich people in this country.
Well, I mean, I would every year I'd go to Pebble and like it'd be a little bit more expensive, a little bit more expensive. You go around like I want the kind of job where you just keep charging more and more people show up because that was Pebble Beach for years. I mean, they
And
just
Stinger.
kept charging, raising the prices, and more people would come.
Yeah.
It was a total inverse of economic theory: raise the price, the demand drops. No, raise the price, and the demand only got higher.
Well, what they
I
didn't
think-
count on is people's like competitiveness to outspend each other and some of this shit.
I guess.
Yes, it is.
But the viability of those events are not the super rich guys at the top. It's all the other people that show up. And
But what's the capacity of Pebble? Like how many, what's max capacity
have
for
no idea.
attendees? Because if it's
I mean, what
10,000 people, then
You think
there's
it's that many?
right. So even if it's less than that, the number of people in the world that love cars, it's even just in the continental U.S. that are willing to go once, is probably 7 figures. So you can milk that teat for years and years and years at whatever
It
price you want.
seems like
guess so.
when I've been there, it seems pretty full. It seems like
Yeah,
they've
but how
pretty
many of those
mostly
people have
maxed
actually
it out.
paid for their tickets? Because they
I
sell
don't
out
know.
all of those suites, which
Yeah.
get a certain number of tickets. The whole Peter Hayhill. Remember when the Peter Hayhill used to have like old cars that were in the auctions and just like cool stuff?
What's the Peter?
That's
Is that
that's the golfing hill up on when you walk from like where the RM auctions and stuff. where
Oh,
you walk,
yeah.
You used to
You
walk
walk
all
down-
that grass
yeah,
and then
yeah,
down the
yeah.
hill
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
lodge,
okay.
and that all used to be like just full of cars that were in the auctions and stuff, and cool cars you could look at. Now it's all auto industry. It's all car company
True.
stamps,
True.
which they're charging mega huge bucks for. So they're making all the money off of those displays and off the auctions and off all the suites that they sell. And all of those people are getting tickets as part of their thing. So you walk into the show and you're like, how many people actually? I mean, you really got to search to find somebody who's actually paid for a ticket.
That's a good point.
In that show, and I don't think they care. I don't think that they care that not that many people, because they've made so much money off the corporate displays and everything.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know a few tuner shops that are learning the value of they're like not. I don't want to like say names or anything, but they're not really building customer cars anymore because there's a lot because they can pull $300,000 out of a brand to build a SEMA car.
Right.
You know what I mean? They
Right.
build 3, 4, 5 SEMA cars a year. That's their whole year.
Right.
Done.
Done.
Boom. Close the door. You know,
Well,
and then you get hashtag branding. And
But
then
that's that's like all of the that's my other problem with Pebble Beach is like it's all become this kind of big giant flea market for wealthy people because if you go to the Coil, it's like, okay, you have all this money to come into the Coil, and it's kind of an okay car show. I mean, really, there's nothing at the Coil, at least in my opinion, the last 2 years going where that you can't see elsewhere
Coil-
on that peninsula that weekend. I mean,
That's
a lot of
true.
those cars are in the auctions later that weekend.
That's
you know,
true.
in the Coil,
Yeah.
and so you kind
But
of walk
the
in, and,
champagne and
the
oysters
car
are
show's
very good.
okay.
I'm telling you,
and
they are.
It's not
and
$400
There's all
good.
this food, and there's people selling helicopters and yachts, and all this very expensive
the
stuff.
the yacht stand. Actually, I got a good chuckle at the yacht stand, honestly, where they have the models of the
I
yachts.
know.
And they've got 4 or 5 of these things. Each of those models has got to be like fucking $10,000 from those things.
I took a picture of one model and posted to Facebook. I was like, if this thing's radio controlled, it's my favorite thing here.
Oh yeah, they should make them radio controlled. If I bought a
Right?
yacht, I would demand my model
A
yacht
radio
be
controlled
radio
model.
That's
of your
the
yacht.
Turbo S add-on.
Yeah. Have you been to in Monaco? They have there's a yacht store that is just like that. It's like that at Quail, but it's just a whole store.
But they sell real yachts.
and they sell real yachts. It's yachts and planes.
I
It's
just comes in
fucking
and goes,
hysterical.
yeah, I'll have one of those, two of
Yes.
those. Anyway, so
But we could be past peak Pebble. It is highly commercialized.
And by the way, and we were all sitting at Concourse going, if this thing all collapses, we'll just go back to meeting in a parking lot for free, which is how Concorso Italiano got started. It was a bunch of guys with Italian cars just meeting up in the parking lot of the Quail before it was the Quail and, kicking tires and bullshit. It was like a cars and coffee for Italian cars, which is how the Legends of Autobahn got going and, some of these other little side shows, Lemons. to a certain
Concord to
extent.
Lemons.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of what Pebble Beach
Yeah.
used to be for a lot of these,
Well, everyone goes, was it Casa Bonita? Like, that's one of the better shows there because it's open. You just
Right.
hang out,
that
talk
what
to people.
it's
It feels
called?
relaxed. Isn't that the Mexican restaurant in Carmel?
Yeah, exactly.
You
There's
know,
like a
and-
million cars there. Yeah.
There's a ton of cars there, and you might not see the Sterling Moss this and this and this, but you're going to see a lot of cool stuff and a wider array of stuff, and it just feels more fun.
But see, I think that that's all part of this bigger generational shift. Like, the older car guys, they're used to joining clubs. They're used to going to like formal car shows. You pay your $35,
Yeah.
fill out the form, show up at 8 a.m. You can't leave till 3 o'clock, and we give the awards away. Younger people don't want to do that. They're cars and coffee people. They're like, well, I might come if the show's from 7 to 9. Like, maybe I'll come.
Yeah.
And maybe I won't. Nobody cares if you come or you don't come. Whatever. And of course, when nobody cares if you come, then everybody comes.
Right.
Which is why all these cars and coffees get overwhelmed here. But it's like all these people show up. And they look and they're like, drink a couple, I talk to a couple of people, and then they're gone. Psst, that's it. I get on with the rest of my day.
Because 6 hours at a car show is too much.
Yeah, it's
like
a lot.
you
I'll
know,
tell you
Yeah.
what. Here's my perfect Pebble. Drive a cool car up there. Something you
Absolutely.
can drive around.
Requirement.
Don't buy tickets to anything. Just get passes to the auctions. You get passes to the auctions, you could pretty much get into anything else.
Yeah.
And then just kind of sleep in, wander around town, hang out, go check out the parking lot of the Quail.
Right.
Maybe buy a Monterey Historics ticket. Maybe if you can get a cheap Monterey Historics ticket. And then go out and party in town at night. That's the perfect Pebble.
Yeah, that's what the old Buick's great for, because a lot of the guys that run the parking lots of these big
Yeah.
hotels are all from south of the border. They
Yeah.
have all very fond memories of cars of that vintage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you roll up in a 48 Buick, and the guy parks you next to the LaFerrari and the P1.
They parked my DeLorean right up front at the Marriott that's right in front of where the auction is.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
at
yeah.
cor-
The
where
Portola.
Crown-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They parked my car and Magnus Walker's car right up front. And then, what's his name? Marvin Shine showed up in his McLaren F1 that he'd driven there from New York.
The white one?
And then we got put downstairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
The McLaren, they drove the McLaren F1 and the F50.
Yeah,
From New
I like
York.
those
Did they
people.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
they
my
drove
God.
him around all weekend like filthy.
This was before that was a $15 million
No.
car.
No, this was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
This
J-
was 20
Well,
J-
that was
kinda
when it was
knows
only an
me.
$8 million car.
This was 2015.
They-
This
they-
guy's a baller.
Him and his family just do big road trips in these crazy exotics, and they have fun with it, which I think I applaud.
That's
You know?
exactly-
Yeah, they've got a F40, F50 Enzo, and a McLaren F1, and they put a shitload of miles on all of them. I think that McLaren's got 30, 40,000
I think
miles
that's right.
on
I
it.
met a guy like that a couple weeks ago. We had this thing here. We had a bunch of members bring cars that are kind of like future future good investment cars. And honestly, the Diablo was one of the cars. And this guy came up. This guy came up from New York with a Diablo VT that he paid $45,000 for.
No
now
way.
You can imagine what a $45,000 Diablo looks
Horrible.
like. Well, it actually didn't look that bad, but he was like, guy had some money problems, So it's like you can imagine, like it was like $45,000, or I'm gonna, my legs are gonna get broken. So, man, this guy he totally made owning exotic cars look easy because he was saying, well, starter in this car is really hard to get at, because it's underneath the exhaust pipes. I'm like, oh, yeah, so what'd you do, pull the engine? He goes, oh, no, I just cut a hole in the wall. If you cut a hole right here. I'm like, so you do your own work? He's like, oh, yeah, I have 2 lifts in my garage. And he's got like a Ferrari 355. He's got his
all the nightmare maintenance
It's right.
cars.
He's got a Testarossa. He's got a 308 that is his winter beater. He was showing me pictures of like the car.
Awesome.
He's like, yeah, I rusted away in 1 year, so I got a new body shell.
Yeah. Glickenhaus's Testarossa rusted away. He drove it through the winter a few years too. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was his train station car where I'm from in Rye, New York. And the chassis rusted away.
But I was like, yeah, so, it's like, what's it like doing belts on a Tesla? He's like, well, it's easy. You just drop the engine, do the belts. Not a big deal. It's like, every once in a while you meet a guy who's like makes owning those cars look really simple.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody like freaks out. They're all online. Like, oh, yeah, you got to set the valve clearances. Oh, I'm going to have to take it to the Ferrari guy. Only the white coated guy and charges $400 an hour. He's the only guy that can do it. But this guy was like,
I would love
it's not that hard.
a Diablo 6-liter, but they're gone. Never coming back. Can't have them.
Why? What do you mean?
They're expensive as fuck. Diablo 6.0s.
Why? What's expensive?
To buy them.
They're under what? They're like $1.25.
Aaron has 2
They
planes.
are not $1.25. They're like $300,000.
Really?
For a 6.0.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the 6.0 is like Audi did a few things and made it work
It had the
properly.
best dash.
Best interior. Yeah. Timmy, give me a Diablo 6.0. I just want to see.
It's cheap.
Give me one. Give me a Diablo 6.0.
Can't you sell a couple of cars, your Lexus and a couple of
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How's the million mile Lexus?
If I sold everything, I could probably afford to buy one.
Including
But,
the house.
Oh, look at, but yeah, that's the best.
I just saw one of those, a yellow 6.0 on the freeway coming here.
That's a good one. That's gonna be a big dollar car.
Did you ever drive one? I drove one once.
I drove one once. Yeah, it was the only Diablo that I drove 2 different Diablos. I drove a 94, which I did not like.
No.
And then I drove the 6.0, which I liked a lot.
94, would that have been the original?
It was a VT. It was the first year of
stacked dash, or was
No,
it
it was
the
the
intermediate dash?
intermediate dash.
Which wasn't bad.
The 91. Tim, give me a picture of a 1991 Lamborghini Diablo gauge cluster. If you want to see a fucking nightmare,
it's awful.
One of the worst gauge clusters ever put into a car. It's a 91 to 93.
It's like a neon gauge cluster.
It is horrible, and it's the double stack. No, that's a Murcielago. That's a Merce. That's it. But top left corner. Is that yellow and red? Yeah, pull that.
Well, that's classy.
Ooh,
That's
geez.
the McDonald's Diablo.
Oh, it's Superman underwear.
It's Ronald McDonald's personal Diablo. But look at that gauge cluster and the rest.
And they
of
put the gauge
dash.
exactly where you can't see them.
I
But by the way, that's Lamborghini tradition.
Yeah.
Because this spot is the same way.
Put it where you can't
right
see
in
it.
behind the ring, and the Urraco. Remember the Urraco?
Yeah.
It says like way out here. It's
and then change that 91 to like a 90, I don't know, 7 or 8, and they made it. There
were 3 instrument clusters. In that car. There was an intermediate, and then the final one, which was really cool.
No, that's
a
the same Merce.
So that's like a Fiat truck.
No, that's a Subaru or
VW
Volkswagen.
Vortex.
BMW. Oh my God! Scroll down. None of these are are Lamborghini. None of them. Not a one.
Maybe you have to put Lamborghini.
All of these
Diablo.
have forum posts that say,
That's a Mustang Cobra.
made my
Lamborghini
gauges look
Diablo.
like a Lamborghini.
Yeah, you gotta.
Because there's someone selling overlays called like Diablo overlays
Exactly.
for Mustang Cobra.
That's an
There you
IS
go.
200.
No.
Or IS
bottom,
300.
Down right.
All right.
No.
Never mind. Fuck it.
It's out there.
Sorry. Well, it got better. Let's just say it got better. Fucking, this is a waste of time. Okay. Holy shit. We need to take a break, don't we? Has it been over an hour? I feel like it has.
Yep.
It's break time. We got to take a break. We got to sell some ads. Someone's got to pay for this shit. Ooh, look at that Diablo GTR. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice.
Very
Nice
nice.
little shop it's in, too. Is that a 220?
I saw those being made. I was
saw
in the
them being
factory.
made?
Yeah. The two guys, once a day, the two guys would get together and shove the engine in. One had a big long stick because you had to heave it over this chassis bar. And so the guy, the engine goes in nearly vertically. And then,
Really?
because it's the engine, transmission, and
It goes in from the top.
differential. Yeah, well, it goes, it's just a freaking hole, a porthole.
Pivots.
Yeah, and so they put it in the top, so you got literally in order from top to bottom, the differential, the engine, and the transmission. And this giant stack goes, it was the same way the Countach was built. This giant stack goes vertically, and then one guy's running the chain and the other guy's like with a wood stick, like levering the thing in. Finally, you hear it go dunk, and it's in. So,
Nuts.
If you're ever wondering why a clutch job is expensive in one of these cars,
Oh, is that why?
you got to pull that sucker out. Yeah. They were not designed with servicing in mind.
Amazing.
I think the Merce. Can't you pull the Merce engine out from below?
No,
You can't?
None of them. No,
Really?
Murcielago was the last of the Murcielago was basically a developed Countach. I mean, all from the Countach on down, they were all steel tube frame, same powertrain stack, everything. The Murcielago had the same engine as my car, 7-main bearing block. It was an evolution of the engine in my 48-year-old Lamborghini.
Still, the Aventador is an
No.
engine?
Aventador was the first with the total
totally
top to
new
bottom
engine,
direct
okay.
injection. Yeah,
It's a good sounding engine though. I
Yeah.
like it. I wish I could afford that Diablo 6.0. Maybe we'll look on eBay later. No, I can't. Is it going to be a 56 Conti? Diablo. Zach's going to go looking. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute with more from Aaron Robinson. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by Driveline. Driveline is the world's first social driving app and comes exclusively to the iPhone. Discover the pleasure of driving, not to get somewhere, but simply to be on the road. Whether you're a longtime driving enthusiast or just someone who wants to discover why driving can be fun. And believe you me, it can be fun. This is the app for you. Here, get this. You can map and classify. So you can map your favorite driving roads and then classify them based on style. Is it a hill climb, a rally stage, a B road, not a top speed, but a, quote, possible top speed, or a trail. Capture basic metrics and driving data. You can use your iPhone's camera to record video of your drive, or use an external camera, or maybe even a drone. Post those videos to the feed so everyone can see exactly why your time behind the wheel matters, or keep them for yourself in your library. You can share your cars, track your drives, and earn points towards contests and giveaways from the team at Driveline Entertainment. If you're new to an area or you're just looking for new roads to travel, Driveline lets you search for roads in any given area by radius and style. You can review maps, videos, comments, likes, and the point scores of the creator. Woo! So many things to do to make driving fun. Looking for a loose surface rally style drive? There may be something closer than you think. Check out Driveline in the App Store for the iPhone. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is also brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Whew, it is tough. It is tough to find anyone to do anything right, and that is why most of the time I do things myself. With ZipRecruiter, though, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the same site in just one day. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, listeners to the Smoking Tire Podcast can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, kids. It's free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/smoke, S-M-O-K-E. ZipRecruiter.com/smoke. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/smoke. What else do we have? Oh, this is going to be my favorite read of the show because we are talking about Forza Motorsport 7. And what's good about Forza Motorsport 7 is that I'm in it. I think I accidentally said that on the podcast before, and I got in a little bit of trouble. I didn't know that it was like a secret, but I kind of was. And now I can say it. There's a thing called the Voices of Motorsports for Forza Motorsport 7, which is coming out. It includes past and current racing drivers, automotive industry engineers, automotive journalists, and personalities. I think I'm one of each of those. I'm not sure if I'm journalist or personality, but it doesn't matter because I'm in it. Here we go. There's a list they sent me. Charlie Turner, editor-in-chief of Top Gear. Johnny Lieberman. I didn't know they put a bourbon section in there, but Lieberman's in there, which is nice. Joseph Newgarden, IndyCar driver. Catherine, I want to say it's Legge, 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 professional driver in IMSA with Michael Shank Racing. If I mispronounce your name, Catherine, I'm sorry. Ken Block, of course. Kim Wolfkill, Lynn St. James. Lynn St. James, retired professional IndyCar driver. Magnus Walker, the urban outlaw. Mark Roberts, the chief designer at McLaren Automotive. Matt Farah, some shitbag. Pat Devereaux, Pat Long. The world's fastest ginger, Pat Long. Ralph Gilles, head of design for Fiat Chrysler. Our old pal Rutledge Wood. Shannon McIntosh. Tanner Faust. Man, that is some list of personalities to be included. What an honor to be included in that list. I think all of these people pretty much are cooler than me. But that's awesome. So, Motorsport 7, Forza, the official racing simulator of the Smoking Tire podcast. It will be available as an Xbox Play Anywhere title on September 29th for Ultimate Edition owners and October 3rd for Deluxe and Standard Edition owners. You can get the demo now. People are playing the demo, and it is sick. You can friend us at the Smoking Tire. At TST Racing on the Xbox Live and race against our Drivatars and such. And, of course, Forza Motorsport 7 and Horizon 3 are the official racing simulators of the Smoking Tire podcast. But I am so happy that I get to being in the game as yourself is pretty much the coolest thing ever. Even for someone like me who's not diehard video game and, in fact, has argued with people about what makes pro gaming and whatnot. But nevertheless, being in the game is awesome. So thanks to Forza at that. Last but not least, gotta grab them. Here it is. Dylan Optics for the camera, the official eyewear of the Smoking Tire podcast. These Dylan Optics sunglasses have been on my eyes since 2009, I think. I bought my first pair of Dylans before going to... No, it's 2011, because I was going to do something called the Ford Focus Rally, which was actually the first ever Hulu original programming show. And I needed some sunglasses, and these were so cool. I bought the pair, and I started wearing them. And pretty soon they were wondering why so many people were going to their website from ours, and it was because you guys thought they were neat too. These are amazing glasses, not just because they look different. They have their matte finish. I get a lot of compliments on them. You can customize what color lenses you get with different frames. You can mix and match every color with every frame style, plastic and metal frames. But it's more than that, is that the glass in these glasses, and people, I wish I could show you without, for the camera, I'll just hold it up to the camera. Maybe you can see. I don't know. There it is. Well, it's hard to see. We're indoors, so it's tough to see. But you got to take my word for it. The glass in these, the reason they're so expensive is because the glass is incredible. And so go to thesmokingtire.com, check out the partners tab, and you'll see that Dylan link. If you use that and you buy a pair of Dylans, I will send you a free Smoking Tire t-shirt. I love these glasses. I'll talk about them just because I love them, and I don't even need to get paid. But we do. Don't worry. So the official eyewear of the Smoking Tire, Dylan Optics. Back to the show with Aaron Robinson. High energy. We're back. Yep.
Nice.
What do you want to plug? Hagerty Magazine. Where can we find it? By getting Hagerty
By
Insurance.
getting Hagerty Insurance. Call the 800 number. They
What's
have
the
very
800
nice
number?
people.
What's the 800 number?
1-800 call Hagerty. It's
You
something.
don't know? Read it off the website. What is it?
Get my quote now.
Wah, wah.
This is terrible.
Let's go to Hagerty.com.
I called this number to get Hagerty Insurance. We don't get a special discount.
You don't? No employee discount?
No.
Wow.
They give us roadside. That's the only. We don't have to pay for the roadside.
When Larry Webster was in here talking about Hagerty,
He probably did
said,
a much better job.
No, he didn't talk about airplanes.
It's okay. You can tell him. He did.
He didn't waste our time with airplanes.
He said that in Traverse City, Michigan,
Yes.
there is a Hagerty-owned facility
Yes.
that is not only full of classic cars that I can drive,
Yes.
but also that it has an apartment above it that I can stay in.
That might be true. I didn't see the apartment. I did see the garage full of
classic cars.
Yes.
And I can drive them.
Yes.
What's in there?
Yes.
What? I have pictures of it. There's a couple of...
The one that stood out to me that Larry said, the only one I really remember was Aston Martin Db5.
I don't know if you can drive that one. That's... Sorry.
If I flew all the way to fucking Traverse City, I would like to drive
I'm not sure if it's a 5 or a 4. It was up on a lift. It's pretty nice. It's McKeel's personal car.
It's whose?
McKeel Hagerty's
Oh.
own car.
Oh.
But you might be able to drive. I'm sure you could work a deal.
Oh. If I talk about Hagerty Magazine and Hagerty Insurance, I probably
There's no, I don't have any pictures of it. Sorry. There's let's see, what is there? There's like a 59 Chrysler in there. There's a 54 Cadillac, I want to say. There's a bunch of Model A's and might even be a T. It's a wide range of stuff, MGA, I think, and some little stuff.
And Larry said Traverse City in the summer is like amazing.
It's kind of like paradise.
Is it really?
It's like
paradise?
Well, it's like Borscht Belt paradise. I mean, it's like going to the Catskills.
That's nice.
Beautiful
nice place to drive an old
lake
car.
Yeah, it doesn't get real hot there, and it's
Good roads out there for driving side cars?
Yeah, there's beautiful roads all up and down the peninsulas, and it's really, it's a great place to spend a summer. I mean, you see why old money from Chicago and other places went there in the summer. I mean, I grew up in the Detroit area, and we used to go up to Harbor Springs, which is just a little bit further north, and there were a lot of these old grand houses on the water that are only open in the summer, and it was all old money from New York and Chicago, and that's where they went. That's where they spent their vacations. It seemed
like a cool spot. I'm going to try and make that work for next summer. It seems like a good time. He said there was an apartment there that I could borrow or something. I don't know, but that's not the big sell, but the cars were. It seemed like the roads were amazing.
Yeah, no, it's well worth visiting in the summer. And I was just there like 3 weeks ago for orientation, and I hadn't been to Traverse City, and we didn't go there. We were further north in Harbor Springs, and I hadn't been there in probably 25 years. And it's like, wow, it's a really cool town. I mean, there's like really hip restaurants, and then Main Street is jumping, and there's bars and cool.
It's like
stores
Americana.
And well, it's like, I don't know what it's like. It's like Georgetown or, some of these happening places.
Yeah.
And
Of course, you ever been to South Haven, Michigan, where Ginger Man is?
Yeah.
We were there. It was kind of popping off, actually, when we were there in May. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was a cool
A lot of
town.
people come from Chicago to the west side of Michigan and stuff. So these are all happening places, and the Hagerty facility itself is amazing. I mean, I've never had a job like this. I've always worked for media companies, which are kind of like the junkyard dogs of industry. This place is like a Silicon Valley startup. I mean, a lot of young people, and it's
they're really going for it, huh?
And yeah, the company has really progressive employee policies, and there's like a gym inside the actual office, and there's a cafe, and there's you'd like walking around just because of all they've
Where
blown
is
up
the office?
It's right in Traverse City.
The one in Traverse City. Yeah.
They've blown up all these pictures of like the Le Mans grid in 1965, and it's like full wall size photos where all the conference rooms are and everything. So it's everywhere you look, there's something cool.
I didn't realize Traverse City was like the home office. I thought that was like a satellite facility.
No,
that's where it's all happening.
Traverse City is the world headquarters. That's where the Hagerty Insurance Agency was. It was started by McKeel's parents. They started, and they actually started in antique boats. That's how they got into it. And then in the early 90s, they started doing classic cars, and it just exploded from there. And they still do the boats. They do the classic cars.
Antique
and then they
boats
do like
is probably limited.
Antique farm tractors and all kinds of stuff you'd never think of. And they now have a business going for restoration shops because, like a friend of mine's a Lamborghini mechanic here in LA, and he's like a one-man shop. He's like one little industrial thing with one door and two lifts, and he's a small-time shop. But the guy might have $15 million worth of cars. So you can't, go to like your regular insurer goes, I'm just a little one-man shop and then that, but I have $15 million worth of cars in there. So, they don't know what to do with a guy like that.
Yeah.
So they've developed an insurance business where they're helping to insure restoration shops. And
You think they insure car storage facilities? Collector car storage
that might
facilities?
be, on
Maybe we
there.
could have a little chat about that later.
Well, because now, you have like M1 Concours is in the one in Pontiac, Michigan. It's kind of like the one in New York, whose the name I'm blanking on.
Classic Car Club?
No, where they've got the track. And
Monticello.
Monticello, yeah.
That's
But-
crazy. They built a racetrack like in the city.
Well, not really. It's
Well,
quite a ways out.
I guess I don't know. For me, who's not from Detroit, Pontiac is basically in Detroit.
Oh,
for
you're
me.
talking about M1. Yeah, M1.
No, not
yeah.
Monticello. No, Monticello's in the fucking sticks. I'm
Yeah.
talking about M1.
Yeah, no.
M1's in the city.
It's totally in the city. I mean,
Yeah.
well, first of all, it's in Pontiac, which is slightly different. I mean, this could not have happened in almost any other part of the country because no place is as run down and crashed as Detroit is. So it's like these guys, and there's a lot of money in the Detroit area, and these guys went and go, okay, where can we put this thing that's like reasonably close to where we live? And it turns out Pontiac was great because it has land and everything is cheap, and so it worked out brilliantly. And I mean, when I was there a few weeks ago for the Roadkill Nights thing, and they're building these garages as fast as they can. I mean, the place is really successful. So
Roadkill Nights. God, how fucked did they get? Did you see all the stupid news? Like the day before Roadkill Nights?
No, the day of.
Was it the day of?
It was the day of. It was the Saturday.
The Charlottesville guy ran over someone in a Dodge Challenger. And then they have a Dodge-sponsored event called Roadkill Nights that same day.
Well, not only that, but the alt-right, some of these alt-right sites were going, yeah, well, Roadkill, this was the Roadkill. And I mean, the guy came from the Roadkill thing, and they were trying to connect the two, and it was a little bit of a PR disaster.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was really the worst timing ever for Dodge. Yeah,
but I mean, the fact that nobody here had heard of that is probably proof that it didn't go very far. And,
yeah, I guess.
So.
Only the people who read us fucking lefty snowflake websites read that shit.
Exactly. But yeah, that was not good. What we call a product placement, I think.
But M1 Concourse, yeah, they have garages full of expensive.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody knows about Roadkill Nights, but that's and I should talk about them because they're the competition. But that is an amazing event.
They drag race on Woodward. It's fucking
they
cool
literally
as hell.
close Woodward Avenue and drag race. They have, and I didn't know this because I had never been to it before. They have a live railroad line that runs right through the staging area. So so all these cars are staged to race on Woodward Avenue. Meantime, there's there's a giant, literally like every 20 minutes is on. And it's not like one of these railroad lines that never works. It's like every 20 minutes is a ding ding.
Tim,
ding,
let's
ding,
see if we can get pictures of Roadkill Nights railroads.
and the barriers come down and like these giant trains, and the guy's like he's just doodling along in his railroad, his locomotive, and then all of a sudden there's like top fuel dragsters and stuff, and so he blows his horn heartily when he goes through, but it's pretty funny.
I'm not seeing a lot of pictures of Roadkill Nights with trains.
Well, maybe just Roadkill Nights, and you might get a train.
You might get a train.
Yeah.
That's funny though. How many people show up to that thing? A lot.
A billion.
Right? A billion.
It's like, I mean, there's a lot of people.
Wait, but didn't you just say you wanted to go to Dream Cruise, and yet you were at Roadkill Nights, which is at Dream Cruise?
Well, because the Roadkill Nights is actually the Saturday before Dream Cruise. So I went.
It's one night before.
No, it's the weekend before.
It's the weekend before?
Yeah.
Is that new? Last year was the same weekend.
Kind of, Dream Cruise now is sort of a week long. It's like a Hindu festival.
Before,
it goes
sure?
for a long time now.
Was I in Detroit?
Oh yeah, my brother lives in Birmingham right there, and he's like, it goes for. It pretty much goes all summer now.
Yeah, all the like the food people I meet on Woodward, like a guy's got a fucking gyro stand on Woodward, is like, yeah, fuck this bullshit.
Yeah, they hate it.
They all hate it so much.
Because I went with my mom to buy a new mattress for her guest bedroom on Woodward, and I'm talking to the guy,
right?
I'm literally like, we're talking about mattresses, and I'm watching over his shoulders, like 58 Plymouths are going by and stuff.
Buying a
and
mattress.
So I was in there buying a mattress, and the guy goes like, "Yeah, we just closed the door because he says everybody who comes in just wants to use the bathroom."
Yeah,
that's true. So, yeah, one of my favorite vehicles I've ever seen was a boat on a trailer driving itself down Woodward. Like without a tow vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen
that. That was great. That was great.
A bit of an art project.
Oh, which actually reminds me, reverse it. I left the flying lesson, and I went straight to Marina Del Rey and joined the sailing club.
Well,
that's what inspired that to do.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's very little commitment compared to getting a pilot's license. I wanted to sail. They have boats. You join the club and you can use their boats. It's fucking great. Let's go sailing. You take me flying, and then I'll take you sailing.
Anytime. I joined when I first moved here. I joined a sailing thing down in King Harbor.
Really?
And you'd go out. First of all, I grew up on the lakes, and so you go out on that ocean, and the waves are really big. I mean, it's not you can get storms in the Great Lakes, but you're every kind of daily sailing in the
Yeah.
summer.
Swell.
It's not. Yeah, you go out on the ocean, and it's like up and down.
Yeah. Ocean waves are real.
And then once you kind of sail around the Santa Monica Bay a couple times, you're like, okay, I got it. Yeah, so, I mean, I think really to enjoy the sailing, you have to race.
Yes.
Well, you need
But-
friends too.
Well, this club
Yeah,
does
you get
have races.
Raging drunk.
They go
with your
race the
friends.
boats too. So that I'm.
So
where I'm
that's
working.
Those
fun,
are cool.
yeah.
They do that every Wednesday in Santa Cruz, and it was like 50, 100 boats go out.
Yeah,
like,
they
you
do
know,
it
boat
every
races.
Wednesday here as well.
Well, they also have, I think, right in Marina Del Rey, they have a little laser fleet that sails. And,
Well, that's LMU. That's the LMU sailing team.
okay,
Yeah.
because that would
I
be
love.
fun.
I used to race lasers when I was a kid. That
Yeah,
was my
that's what I
boat.
did
Did
as a
you do
kid.
lasers as
Yeah.
well? Lasers are awesome.
Oh yeah,
I didn't ask if the sailing club has lasers, but if they do, I would 100% go laser sailing.
Do you think you could mount a potato gun on a laser and play pirates?
absolutely.
You'd go to jail, probably.
Would
Would
you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the rules of sailing. You
Tim,
can't
pull up
shoot
laser
International
sailing. For you
waters.
who don't know what a laser sailboat is, it's a 14
For those of
foot
you who care what a laser
single.
I just want to put a hole in someone's
Yeah,
boat
there
and
we go.
storm it.
It's a good promo photo there.
Yar.
It's a dinghy.
Do they still make these things?
Fuck yeah, they do.
Do they?
Yeah,
They're running the Olympics,
Lasers are
right?
Laser
it's a one design class in the Olympics.
Okay.
My laser that I had when I was a kid, I bought from the it was surplus from the 96 Atlanta Olympics.
Of course it was.
They bought a whole fleet of them for the Olympians to sail and then sold them off cheap. And so it had like very little use. It was sailed by fucking somebody.
Yeah, well, you can't
And,
just have some normal ass laser like the rest of us.
What a normal laser? I got it
Olympic.
cheaper than a normal laser.
Olympic laser.
I was cheap. It was.
They're all cheap. You can buy a laser for like $40. I mean, they're
Now you probably
they're a
can,
couple
yeah.
$100.
At the
I mean,
time,
they're,
yeah.
with the trailer. I mean,
Yeah.
they're super cheap.
If they have they're so fun to sail. They're really, really fast, and they're great, great fun boats. It's like a sunfish, but like a fucking fast one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
They're great fun. There's a laser 2 as well.
Yeah.
It's a 2-person.
I only like sailing if I have
double-handed.
something to do. But if you do that, then you're the only person, so you have something to do.
You don't like sailing unless you have something to do?
Yeah.
On dinghy sailing, you always have something
Yeah.
to do. Yeah. Anything up to 25 feet or so, you're always doing shit.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then above 25 feet is when you get winches, and the winch does a lot of the work.
Especially in the ocean, like you were saying, Thailand was much calmer, but when we used to sail up in Monterey, you get kind of sick if you don't have shit to do. If you're not moving around and focused, all you do is sit there and go, oh, there's another one.
yeah.
Oh, there's another one after it. And you're just way too focused on that.
And if you're racing, you're always doing something.
Yeah.
too.
What else have we driven lately? I drove a 1931 Bentley.
How was that?
It was
Glorious?
like a giant truck. It was my. People ask me like, "Why do you have that World War II ambulance?" Because I had that World War II Dodge, and the answer now
is that it right there?
is
Something like
to
that?
prepare. Yeah, it was a WO.
That's cool.
So all of the cars that Bentley made at the original Cricklewood factory when WO Bentley ran the factory are called. They call them WOs. And this was, Rolls-Royce bought the company in 33, 34. Rolls-Royce basically swooped in the Depression and took over Bentley, which is why Bentley and Rolls-Royce were together for so many years.
yeah.
But before then, Warren owned Bentley was running the company, and so they had a like a WO festival here. They had
How many cars go to a WO?
they had almost 30 of them.
really?
Yeah. I was shocked. And so I actually got my airport organized it because he's got a 28 or something. So we went out there, and a guy named Kurt Ferger, who lives in Colorado, he's a retired Swiss pharmaceutical exec, got a 31. It's an 8-liter and a 4.5-liter chassis. It's an 8-liter 6-cylinder motor.
Awesome.
So this is like,
Whoa.
it's like a tank engine.
Yeah.
And he'd been driving these. This rally was 1,000 miles, so he'd been driving this thing for 800 miles. And so the last day, he's like, "You want to drive this?"
Yeah.
'Cause the novelty's worn off.
Man, you can get over anything, right?
Exactly.
Get over
So I
anything.
like okay, and I've driven a crash box. My ambulance was non-synchro.
Are the pedals normal configuration at least?
The pedals, some of them have center throttles.
Yeah, I don't like the center
Yeah,
throttles.
his
that
wasn't.
fucks you up.
They weren't all that way, and his wasn't. Thank
Did you
God.
order them different ways, I guess, or they just been changed over the years?
I think they just changed because everybody. It was if you go back to the 1920s, there was like no convention,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like everybody just.
I've tried driving
The
cars.
pedals
for
are on the
20. They're
roof.
fucking
Our pedals on the
impossible.
tire.
No, because nobody's done it before. We can put them in the back seat if you want.
Yeah, the guy in the back has the pedals.
Right.
You only get a tiller,
And that guy has the
he
brake.
shifts. Yeah.
Right. So, guy down the street has the brakes. So yeah, like no, there was no convention to cars. Like they didn't even decided on gasoline as the one fuel. There were
Yeah.
still steam cars in the 1920s and all this stuff. So electric cars. Jay Leno has electric.
The Baker Electric.
Yeah, Baker Electric, and he has that Doble, that 1923. I want to say Doble steam car. Goes 80 miles an hour. But anyway, so like nobody.
How do you spell that? D-O-B-L-E?
D-O-B-L-E.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doble.
Would there be people at these rallies, like one guy's in a car powered by petrol and one has one powered by like dried aspen wood?
Exactly. It's just like stoking up the fire.
He's just like piling
Is
up
that a
logs.
Noble?
Is that?
Doesn't look like an electric car to me.
It's steam.
Oh, it's steam. Oh.
Yeah, if you put in like Leno Doble, his will come out. His is like a big town car. It's like a big touring car. And I have been on the 5 freeway in that car at 80 miles an hour. It's amazing.
Wow.
And smooth.
I was gonna say, what's it feel like? Smooth?
Oh yeah.
It's-
It's totally. It's four. It's just like a steam engine. It's 4 little pistons on the back axle. That's what actually powers the axle. And when you open the hood, there's this amazing giant boiler with like 1,000 yards of copper tubing in it, and all of this very sophisticated for its day, like totally mechanical system for self-regulating, because the boiler could turn itself on and off as needed.
Whoa.
So it had this total mechanism for regulating itself.
That's really cool.
It's
really
really cool.
wild.
What's the heating element? Is it coal and then you got water over it?
Gas.
No, propane. I think.
Propane.
Okay.
Or some kind of gas.
Propane,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's what he uses. So,
He's so into that steam stuff. It's nuts.
well, because it is nuts. It's
He showed up
totally-
to Trancas on Sunday in a Duesenberg chassis. Just a
with
chassis,
no
no
body,
body. He's got like used to buy a Duesenberg back in the day. You'd buy the chassis and the motor with like a bench seat on it, and then you'd take it to Mulliner or whoever the fuck your coach builder was back in the day, and they'd build you a body. And he has one with no body.
No body, yeah. He's probably the only guy in the world who's got a Duesenberg with like dead bugs on the
Yeah.
backside of the
That's
instruments.
awesome.
But yeah, this Bentley was amazing. I mean, it was a giant wagon wheel, steering wheel, and a handbrake outside. So it has a foot brake, but that only does, I want to say, the rear brakes.
Whoa.
Or maybe the front brakes, and then the other brakes are operated. But so
your
thing-
brake-
Both together, or you use the
Yeah,
lever?
oh yeah, you do. Well, it depends on what. If you just have to slow a little bit, you can use the pedal. But if you have to slow, like for a light, you have to reach. And the thing about driving is you cannot afford to be surprised by anything, because you're
looking way.
Oh
way
yeah. You
ahead.
see brake lights like a
Yeah.
half mile away. You're like, okay, what do I got to do?
And your
'Cause-
brake bias changes depending on how tired your arm is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
And if if somebody pulls out in front of you, you're gonna ram that thing right into them. At the end of the day, you'd just be like flossing mopeds and kids and stuff out of the grill. Because
When he would drive it, he was probably very smooth, right? It's the first couple times, and you're like,
Who? Kurt?
The owner.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
he
he
was-
didn't. He said, "Okay, push that, pull that, go." And like he didn't demonstrate how you drive it. So I was like, "Okay, I've driven some weird vehicles in my life. I should be able to handle it." And then he said, "Oh, you shift better than I do." So I felt good about that. But now you're going along 70 miles an hour. I mean, wind, our hair is like shaped into a teardrop because the windshield's about this big, and but that's fun. That's a lot of fun.
I didn't drive anything that cool. I hate to say it. Had an F-Type SVR all week though, which is nice, fun, very fast,
Loud.
Very loud,
Obnoxiously loud.
Yep.
You don't find that totally obnoxious, or you still like that?
I don't think I want to own it for a week. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really loud. And I feel a little guilty. But other people, when I drove it around, other people looked at it like it was cool, not like I was a piece of shit.
Total asshole.
I felt like a piece of shit, but other people looked at me like I was cool.
I like when you can have the option, like when it's loud, it's a cool loud sound, but when it's all the time,
It's
and
not
you-
that
you
bad.
just-
If it's not in loud mode, it's not that bad.
it quiets it down a little
It's
bit,
okay.
yeah,
A little bit.
But when it's turned on, I mean, it's like you just cough, and then the throttle goes.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
you
feel
say
like that's the one they were like, okay, everybody's got every base covered in the industry. Okay, we'll just make the loudest car.
Yes.
Like I don't know how that car's even
Spinal
legal.
Tap, like one of Britain's loudest bands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Goes up to 11.
I think honestly, I remember at the press launch they measured the allowable legal decibel limit and backed it off by 1. I swear to God, that's a thing I was told at the press.
That
launch.
would definitely be
Draws
illegal at
blood,
Laguna Seca.
and
Yeah.
then they just went down 1.
Yeah.
So
What
now
causes
it's just
tinnitus?
hearing damage.
All right, back it off.
Exactly.
I drove anything
Cool
else
car, though.
Good. What else is? I drove my. No.
What's-
Oh, I actually So my Focus RS, they ride like shit from the factory. They ride like
Yeah.
just horrible,
The
unsprung,
shitty ride option.
shitty ride option. So, KW sent a prototype set of adaptive coilovers that work with the car's adaptive system, but they are a coilover.
So they're electric.
They're yeah, I think.
So they've got like a valve on top.
Yeah,
that
there's a
switches
valve
on.
on top with a solenoid, and it's electric. Yeah, and so they still have the car because they're still fiddling with it. Mountoon still has some stuff, and they're writing some new tunes or whatever. But and I'm going out of town anyway, so I said, here, just keep it. But I stopped by and drove it. Holy shit, is it better? The ride is so much better now.
Because it's just automatically reacting to everything.
It's
It
just
feels
a
right.
much higher quality shock.
Well,
Like-
the old car didn't have it, right? They just
Mm-hmm.
welded the axles to the bottom of the car, and then
yeah.
it's like a go-kart you had when you were a kid.
It's just the shocks were cheap. They're adaptive shocks, but they're cheap adaptive shocks. These are expensive adaptive shocks, and there's a lot more range of motion. There's a lot more the response time is better. Like everything's better. And I drove the car around for 15 minutes and just went, holy shit, this is way better.
It's
awesome.
They're like the
excited.
Ford Raptor of Focuses.
Rally car, bro. And then everyone says is to ditch the 19-inch wheels.
Yeah.
And get 18s.
Some guy was walking past me today, and he saw my M3. He's like, "Oh, I have one of these in the garage with 40,000 miles on it." And he bought it like 2 months old. And he's like,
What generation is your M3?
E46.
Nice.
And he's like, "Oh, I like your wheels." And I told him about Armin. Armin bent 2 19-inch wheels in a month. And this guy's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I did the same thing. First 5 weeks, like." You go too tall, you just start bending shit. It's not as comfortable.
Well, and
Top
they're
down.
heavier, and big wheels are there's no good reason to have big wheels other than people think they look cool because they're heavier than smaller wheels. The ride's worse.
So I think I need to downsize to 18s.
Dude, it looks sweet. It
I
looks
know,
so
but I have
sweet.
I have to find wheels. I got to find HRE to make wheels.
Right, done. You just found HRE. He's like, who do we know in the wheel
I don't
industry?
know. Depends if I have to spend money on it or not.
Looks
You
like
got anything off Facebook? Mm-hmm. I saw there was one good question that I hate to bring up car and driver, but someone had a question about magazine testing.
Yeah. What about it?
Someone wanted to know, and you can find the exact person it was.
Universal tire testing?
It was about tires. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was no, it was just easy. It was easier than that. It was
Tire testing.
Is there
Nightmare.
no? It was. Is there an argument for having a spec tire for something like a lightning lap versus having the cars run with what the manufacturer?
Well, there's an argument. The problem is it's not a good argument because when you go into the dealership, you don't go, I want the spec tire. I don't want the tire that the car comes on. I mean, you can't. When you buy a car, you get the tires that it comes with. So our attitude was, when I worked at Car&R, was you test the cars as they're delivered to the customers. Yeah, we could put a spec tire on, but then you create an artificial circumstance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's meaningless if you put the same tire in every single car because that's not the way you buy the car. So
Yeah.
the point was to test the car the way it's delivered to the customer. So
I actually think, tire is a part of the car that the manufacturer works to develop with the tire manufacturer. And
absolutely.
so that's important as well. But I also, out of curiosity, I would love to see how every sports car on Earth performed on a Pilot Sport 4S. You know what I mean? Or
It'd
on
be
the
interesting
same, on whatever.
Because
the
it would
same
it would
tire.
just remove that variable and
Yeah.
just look at mechanical grip and suspension.
Yeah, but it
those
would
things.
be purely an academic exercise
Yeah.
because unless the customers could actually put those tires on the cars. And by the way, I mean you do get weird sizes sometimes, and so you're not going to get a tire for every single car that we test there.
Oh,
but,
of course.
but I mean the fact is Pilot Sports have kind of become the de facto spec tire for ultra high performance cars. So
yeah, but I've driven a bunch of cars recently that don't have them.
they might have them as an option.
Maybe.
I mean, we get we get funny. When you get into this, you find out the deep nuances of car company trickery. So they'll offer, like the NSX, for example, offered. What do they do?
They have a Trofeo R tire.
Yeah, Trofeo R, but it's like a dealer ordered.
Yeah,
so it's like you can call Tire Rack and get the Trofeo R, or you can check the box and then the dealer will call Tire Rack and get you the Trofeo R. But it's an official factory option. So when they delivered the car for us to test at VIR, it was on these Trofeo Rs, and we're like, all right, what's up with that? Because that wasn't in the press stuff or anything. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's a dealer thing now. You can go. So basically, it's just the dealer calls Tire Rack and gets the tires for you instead of you calling Tire Rack and getting the tires for you. So that, we see.
It's clever.
And then everyone's, if you look closely, because we get cars, I have to do everything past tense, that were very new. And so sometimes the tires weren't ready for the car, like the optional tire wasn't out yet, and so they would put like Porsche spec tire. That was real common. You'd see, I think Porsche's designation is N1, as I recall. So you'd see N1 tires on other car companies. Oh yeah, car, and you go, it's an N1 there, and and like, oh yeah, our tire's coming, But we didn't have it yet. But we know this is a track test, so we want to experience the car with the tires that will be optional when we get them.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
so
that makes a lot of sense.
we see a little bit of and we had the LC 500 this past year. This is my last Lightning Lab, and we drove.
How nice is it? Isn't it great?
Well, I mean, it's nice. Yeah, it's heavy. That's the worst thing you can say about it. It's not a track car. It's a great GT car. It's very comfortable. It sounds great, which, let's face it, not all Toyotas have. And
it's even reasonably quick on the track.
It's reasonably quick. The styling is attractive, I think, and interesting. And it does it kind of behaves on the track. It's not weird or anything. So fine. So we drove it for like 2 or 3 days on the Bridgestone Potenza S somethings that come on the car. And we're driving, and they delivered a second set of mounted tires, which we shoved in the back of the garage. And we were driving this thing on the Bridgestones 2 or 3 days, and then lap times were okay. They were about what we expect with the car. And then the last day we had a lot of rain, and so we actually ended up delaying for a couple of days, and then we went back out there. And somebody's like, well, we should probably just throw on the other set, just 'cause these tires are probably a bit used up. So somebody went back in the garage and they realized that they were Michelin Pilot Sports. It was the optional tire for the car. It wasn't another set of Bridgestones.
Oh, whoops.
And they were like, yeah, we probably should have put these on the beginning. So they slapped them on. Immediately 3 seconds came off the lap. Now, anybody who's been on tracks knows 3 seconds is a lot of time.
Yeah,
and it was an immediate 3-second drop in the time of the car. Immediately. So, tires make a huge, they are probably the single biggest performance factor that separate cars. So it's you learn a lot about tires when you do that kind of stuff.
I once heard Callaway say that the entire car was built to make the tire perform.
Yeah, well, I believe it. And tires, I mean, in the 17 years that I worked at Car and Driver,
poetic.
The tires changed so dramatically. I mean, I remember doing, when I first started doing skid pads, you do 2 or 3 runs on the skid pad, you could see cords. I mean, literally on relatively new tires, because they would get so hot in such a short amount of time. They couldn't manage the heat. And nowadays you can be all day at the track and ripping around, and they're
I ran a Civic Type R around Road Atlanta for a whole weekend, and I had like 0 noticeable tire wear, really. And they were Contis or something. I don't know. They weren't my favorite tire, but they held up remarkably well.
Well, one of our tech guys, Casey Coil, was visiting one of the tire companies, and they told him this amazing stat, which is that all the CAD data used to build a tire, all the computer data that they use in the tire is greater than the amount of CAD data used for the whole rest of the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. Tires are amazingly complicated.
Someone's
your neighbor.
Someone's bumping.
We're gonna get flagged for copyright now.
I don't know. What kind of vehicle is that out there that's bumping these beats? It's really
a motorcycle with speakers.
It's a motorcycle with speakers.
That's the worst.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Definitely. Definitely. Sorry guys.
Anyway, that was
some of the we've run. I mean, just an MX-5 Cup. It's not a particularly heavy car, but we ran an entire endurance weekend on one set of tires.
Hankooks, right? I think that's what they use.
No, we use Durezas, Dunlop Durezas.
Oh, really?
Star
Because I
spec.
thought Hankook had that series, but man, I could be wrong.
For what? No, it
Well, they were
wasn't.
like-
No,
they have a
not an
spec tire.
MX-5 Cup. We were racing
you
in
were
an
just-
AER.
oh,
That
okay,
was the
okay,
car,
yeah.
but we were racing in an AER.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that car is
two
so
9-hour
light.
races, but a 9-hour race on one set of street tires. It's an
That's
unbelievable
amazing.
number of laps.
What track was it?
This was at New Jersey Motorsports Park, Thunderbolt.
Is that a tight or is it open?
It is, I would say, relatively tight. Relatively tight. Fun little track, actually.
Yeah, we had a Cup car. We had a Miata Cup car out there 2 years ago at Lightning Lap.
The
and
new one, right?
The new
The
one.
new one kicks ass. It's great fun.
Well, I tell people it's like you can, if you buy one of these things, you buy just a regular Miata, not even a Cup car, just a regular Miata. You take it to your track day. You get really good at driving that car. You can go drive anything on the market.
Yeah.
Anything. That car will prepare you to lap a 918. I mean, you will learn everything you need to know about car control from that car. Left foot braking, lift throttle oversteer, everything just from a Miata. I mean, they're
The
so
ND
fun.
MX-5 Cup happens to be very good.
Oh, yeah. The car that we had 2 years ago was actually leading the championship. It was halfway through the season.
Oh, really?
Somebody called them. It was like the team. I forget the name of the team. They said, would you bring
Want
out the
some
car?
exposure?
So they literally brought the car mid-season, leading the championship out, and they dropped it off. They didn't
Yeah.
even
Nuts.
babysit it. They were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, just call us when you're done. So we had it there. Like, everybody drove it. We just drove the shit out of it.
Yeah,
But,
it was great. And apparently, they're very cheap to run. They told me that if you blow a motor, I think it's $4,000 for a sealed crate motor,
I
ready
believe
to
it.
race.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
when
I'm
I
starting to drop
raced,
it off.
when I raced first gen Miatas, a motor was $1,500.
Yeah,
It was like, who cares? You just run to the red line, So
it was unbelievably fun to drive. But
it is the best way to race, really, at an affordable price.
yeah, I've been digging Chump Car and AER. They've been both very fun. I like
What are
the
you running?
endurance racing. We did an E30 at 24 hours of VIR.
That survived?
Oh, it did survive.
Did it
Yeah,
really?
it did survive. Yeah. Although I've said it a few times in this show, I did not enjoy racing at night. It was very scary at VIR. Very dark.
Do they use the full
Yes.
course?
Not the grand course, the full course. We don't include the Patriot course.
The infield.
No infield.
Yeah. You go all the way
out-
down the back
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Still,
yeah.
that's like a 4-mile lap or 3.5-mile lap.
No, 3, 2
and change, I
I
think.
think.
That's a
3
pretty
and
long
change.
lap, though.
Yeah. It's very hard at night. It was very hard to see.
But
during the
I'm
day,
no
it
one
was
agrees.
pretty
The
fun.
first time I raced, that's the only time I ever put a car on its roof. Was
You put a car on-
when the sun went down, I went off. It was like literally. First time I'd raced at night, and then, like the sun went down, and then the dew started to settle.
Yeah.
And I went a little wide on a corner, and it just went in the grass and accelerated.
Oh,
And then it went backwards, and it was in a Miata actually.
really?
Yeah, we did this thing at Nelson Ledges in Ohio. We did this 24 drivers in 24 hours. So we everybody was gonna drive an
That's.
hour.
I mean, it's pretty fun.
It was totally
What
fun.
idea- what hour were you, though?
Yeah, was that?
What hour were you?
I was at like 9:00. This is the middle of summer, so it's a late sunset. So I was like, I got in the car just as the sun was setting, and I was
You fucked it up for 17 drivers.
no, we actually got the car running again, but it was the weirdest thing. I was having a great time. I was turning good lap times, the whole thing, and the sun's setting, and the headlights are now on, and this is a whole new experience for me because I hadn't raced at night like
Yeah.
you, and so I'm following this guy, and there's a part of the course. Nelson Ledges is like the low rent track of all time. I mean, it's really just a tire landfill that somebody has put a track around. It's like an unlicensed tire landfill. 4 trillion mosquitoes per square inch. So we're out in like the back part of the course, which is really dark. And the funny part about this whole story is that during the drivers' meeting before the race, they handed out these breakable glow sticks, and they're like, "Did they do this for you?" And they said, "Tape it in the car, and if you have a wreck like way out in the back where it's dark and there are no people,
No, that would have
and
probably been a good idea.
They want wave the glow stick so we know you're not dead, and we won't call a helicopter." So, and
That would've been a
I
good idea.
remember thinking at the time, I'm like, all right, how fucking likely is that? So, so we taped the thing in, and so I'm laughing, I'm having a great time, and I'm chasing this BMW, and we get out in this back section where there's a sweeper, and he taps his brakes, and I tapped mine, and the car just starts to drift out, and it caught the wet part of the track, and then it was on the grass, and that was
That's
it.
the end. You're a
the car
passenger,
spun
yeah.
around backwards and went right down the tree line, and my mental vision
Took
of it.
a
It's-
minute and a half.
It was like headlights with like trees flying through it. It was like the opposite of the scene where Luke crashes on Dagobah and he's going through all the it was like going backwards. And then all of a sudden the sensation was of falling. I literally thought that I had fallen into a creek or like a little ditch or something. But what had happened was I'd hit this tire pile, which because it's the
fallen off it.
No, and gone nose over tail in the air, nose over tail. The car literally went vertical, nose over tail, and landed in the tall grass. And so I'm like hanging on my belts, and I call the pets, and I'm like, "Oh fuck it, I rolled the car. Fuck. I'm really sorry." And then I'm like, "All right, I better get out of this thing." So I take the steering wheel off, and I undo the belts and crash to the ceiling, and then slide out, worm out the door. Then I'm just like going, walking around in circles, going, all the adrenaline is I can't see straight because of all the adrenaline. I'm like, fuck. And then I remember the glow stick. Like, oh shit, I gotta go to the glow stick. So I go back in the car and grab the glow stick and I start waving it around. And later they were like, thank God you did that because we were just about to call the helicopter. So
they did not give us glow sticks at VIR. They really, really should have.
Yeah.
It took them about 20 minutes at one point to find a car that had gone off.
yeah,
Like a car went like off,
Off.
in pitch
to
black.
another state.
It took them a really long time to find it. And
It is. It's almost on the border, isn't it?
Suggest that next time.
Yeah.
Glow sticks from somebody who knows. Yeah, but then they hauled it back. They pulled the car off the tire pile or off the grass and hauled it back, and we fixed it. We had it running in 3 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we had a couple of bent control arms we fixed, and luckily we had all the parts. And we had to put I'd squashed the lights, the driving lights, so we put new lights on, and we kind of taped it back together, and we got it back on the track.
Did all 24 drivers still get their time?
No, because about 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning, one of the guys who had been, like we'd all been working on the car. He'd been up probably for like 3 days straight.
Yeah.
It was his turn, and he went wide on a guy and just lost it. Drove right into the wall and destroyed the radiator. And so
Was he okay?
he was fine. But I was glad. I only rolled the car. He's the one who destroyed it.
Yeah, you ran again after
You just kept him up all night working on it.
Yeah.
And then he didn't get
It was
sleep.
fun. It was like it was all magazine staff people and a few other people, and it was like a great team building. We were like, yeah, it was the only time we were really happy, I think. I was fixing that car.
Overcoming problems, man. That's why AER Chump is so fun. Like if something goes wrong, you can just watch the adrenaline in the pits.
Yeah.
And everyone just goes and scramble, and if you fix it, then you go back out.
Have you guys done lemons too?
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you compare the two?
I really like AER and Chump better than Lemons.
What's
American Endurance Racing, which is an East Coast only.
Oh, that's like serious racing. That's not Rex.
It's in between. There are some cars that could race in Chump car, for sure. E30s, E36s, stuff like that. And then there's also some nicer cars. Like you can show up with a straight up like World Challenge car.
Okay.
And there's just different classes.
But it's not none of it like Chump's not like Lemons where people come with the Starship Enterprise. And
No, you can paint your car, but it's got to look like a car. You can't make turn your car into a boat and shit. Like it can be fairly shitty, and you can paint it silly, and you can have fun names, but your car has to look like a car.
Because Chump car wasn't it kind of like born out of people who wanted to like really race, but
To
Lemons
take it a
was
little
too
more
silly.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then an AER, I would put in one half a bump up from that too. But the driving's gotten pretty good at Chump car.
But did they get as many people? Because this Lemons get 1 million people.
Yeah, but you couldn't. That's a very go back that Bimmer World car. Like that's a typical Chump or AER car.
Yeah, see that's
So that's a
that's
nice
a
little-
serious car.
Nice
I mean,
little E36. There's some real builds in
Yeah.
AER for sure, and then there's also like some fairly ratty looking E30s, and we race an MX-5 Cup that, aside from being a little dirty, looks like a nice clean car too. So, and Chump car.
It's not as busy as Lemons, but it's close.
the
It's like
traffic.
it's 100 or plus when we were at VIR. But I think when we did
100.
Lemons at Sonoma, it was like 160 started.
Chump has
You know,
a
and then they fall off real quick.
35 cars per mile of track rule. They do. So Lemons doesn't. Lemons,
as many as
they can
I
sell.
mean, I did a Lemons race in Chicago at was it Autobahn they call it or something. And I mean, Lamb showed up in a helicopter.
Yeah.
he's like Bernie Ecclestone of crap. And,
Well, we did the math on how many cars they get versus their entry fee every weekend, and they're rolling in it.
People think it's cheap racing. It's not cheap.
$2,200 a team to enter
Yeah.
Lemons, and they've got an average of 150 teams per weekend. Do the fucking math.
Yeah.
That's crazy. AER is 1,800.
And the track is probably 15 grand to rent. So
Yeah, someone's counting cash. But
yeah, I thought that was just, Lamb like kind of walked down the starting line, looked at the car, waved the green flag, and then I saw the helicopter fly out.
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh, he's in the helicopter.
yeah,
Nice.
No, AER and Chump are the track's a little more open. You got a little more room to race, a little more room to play.
Well, I mean, when
fun.
I did Autobahn, the car that we were running was a Prelude. We called it the Hell Kitty, and I was passing like 30 cars a lap.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's so fun, right?
It's like a video game.
Super
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's like racing on the 405, which is actually Zach's line.
It's great.
Anything else before we wrap this up? Approaching 2 hours, man.
There's a few. What are some K cars you can import? Because you used to have a cappuccino.
Oh, K cars.
Can you realistically use one as a DD, including occasional long
what's a
drive?
DD?
daily driver.
Day drive.
You can if you're small. I mean, I saw. Did you? Oh, you were in Pebble Beach. A guy had a Mazda AZ1, an AutoZam.
I drove an
AZ1.
AutoZam.
Did you
liked
really?
it. Yeah, I loved it. It was. I made the guy
Was
an
it hard to
offer
get
on
in and
Monday.
out of it?
So the one I drove, there it is. See the next to the Tahoe, Tim. That's from my video. That's it.
Oh, that I know that guy. He's out in Claremont.
He's in Long Island, New York.
Oh, okay.
That's
I know
his.
that
That's
guy.
his name is Seth, and I drove. That's his car, and Seth is about my size.
Right.
And he took out the stock seats and put in Lotus Elise seats, which give you quite a lot more room.
Yeah, basically a painted piece of metal.
And
It's
then
a piece
he-
of metal painted black.
Yeah, and then he removed the lower half of the center console, which gives you a lot more leg room.
Is Seth a big fellow?
He's about my size.
Okay.
And I found it actually quite comfortable.
All right.
It was nice.
It's
the
the one
rear
I've never
suspension
driven.
geometry is wonky as shit, and like the rear just really wallows around a lot. You'd have to do something with the rear suspension. Like it's definitely not a sports car, but it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed driving it very much.
Well, they listen. It's the 25-year rule. You can bring in anything 92 or older.
It's a good
It's
picture of the Sam.
a lot of these cars are coming in from Canada where they have a 15-year rule.
Yeah.
So they're out there.
Yeah.
If you want one, it's like why buy one overseas? Or whatever you want is probably
Well, I
already
think
here.
the guy wants to know if you use a day. They got to be reasonably reliable, right? They were meant to be everyday cars.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is the AZ1, the Cappuccino, they were made by Suzuki. Suzuki has had the best-selling car in Japan for like 20 years running, which was the Wagon R, which uses the same engine. It was first the F6A, then the K6A, this little three-cylinder. It's also used in Bombardier's snowmobiles.
Oh, really?
And so, yeah, I mean, this engine is not hard to get parts for. The thing that's hard to get parts for is like you got a 92 Cappuccino and you need body panels or anything like that. That you have to buy off like eBay Japan.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
That gets tricky. And Japan's like a really old-fashioned place to do business. A lot of them like won't ship you stuff unless it's cash on delivery. They only do COD. So like a guy comes to your door and you hand him a wad of cash and
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
hand you the thing that you bought. So like if you call, I'm in the US and I need a Cappuccino panel. I mean, it's better to go find these guys that import. They have connections in Japan and they import stuff. There's a guy up in Chatsworth I know who brings in. He just brought in a whole load of moto compos.
What is a moto compo?
A moto compo? Oh, it's a little Honda 50cc bike that was supposed to go in the back of the
Oh,
Honda
that.
City.
Oh, yeah.
the little folding bike.
Those are
Oh
cool.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what Chris Stewart, the Grid Life head organizer, was using as a pit bike.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying one for my plane, but
Yeah.
they're quite heavy. Actually,
He's got a Honda City K van.
Yeah.
and it goes in the back.
it goes
of
in.
the K
It was
van.
designed to go in the back of that, and you'd
Yeah.
park. The idea being you park on the outside of the city, and then you ride your little moto compo
Yeah.
into wherever
Very
you
cool.
gotta go. But anyway, yeah, there's enough guys in the country that import. So like if you need oil filters or belts or stuff, you can find.
Oh, is
this
oil?
stuff.
Are oil filters tough to come by?
Well,
you can't get an AutoZone oil filter.
The oil filter that I used in the Cappuccino was a Suzuki outboard. It matched the part number matched
All
up.
right,
So
there you
I
go.
went to Marina Del Rey. There was a marine shop.
West
and the-
Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't West Marine. It was some little shop, and the guy who was a Suzuki parts dealer for Suzuki outboard motors, and he was like, "Yeah, I got them."
Oh,
so
there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, you make do, and there's enough of them around. They're on the forums. The problem is in California, of course, because we're
Carb.
super tight on emissions. What most people don't know is that in California, but at least there was, and I think there still is, there was an exemption for cars under 50 cubic inches. Displacement, which is like 821 cc. Of course, all K classes are 660
Yeah.
cc. And that exemption dates from the early 70s when California was writing the first testing procedures. You have to understand, California got into emissions regulations before the federal government. I mean, California had its own rules before there was a Clean Air Act, which is what created all of the federal emissions testing laws. So California was writing these test procedures, but there were certain cars that didn't fit on the dyno that were on the market, like the Subaru 360 and the Honda N600, and these little tiny cars. They didn't fit on the dyno rollers; they were too small for testing, for lab testing. So California was just like, all right, every car under 50 cubic inches, we're not going to worry about it.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Because there weren't that many cars.
Yeah, and they were tiny anyway.
And they were tiny anyways.
Yeah.
And they got a good fuel economy. And, so they just, and all through all the years and all the changes in the law, that exemption's still there.
Huh.
So
you can get a K car exempted.
You can. However, the problem you're going to run into is that the California DMV will kick out any VIN number that's from 82 or newer, because in 81 we transitioned to a standardized 17-digit VIN. So anything that's 82 or newer has to have a standardized 17-digit VIN, which of course Japanese market cars don't have. Right. They have like an 11-digit VIN.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to tell people how to break the law, but basically, if your K car is 1981 or older, if that's what the title says, then it gets a lot easier. So.
Well, if he's in California, that's a good tip. If not, you're good pretty much anywhere else in America.
Yeah, I mean, there's states, most of it's like Michigan where I grew up. You
anywhere.
can get a toilet seat license.
Yeah. I saw someone at Grid Life in Atlanta driving a Honda Beat, and it looked like a great little fun car.
The Cappuccino's really the best. There's a guy here.
The Cappuccino's the best one.
If you're going to buy it, it's really, first of all, it's turbocharged, so it actually has torque. The Beat
AZ1 is also turbocharged.
Yeah, because it's the same engine. Suzuki made the AZ1.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's... I had one. I'm obviously an advocate, but there was a guy here with a Beat, and he and I went up in the mountains one day and we swapped cars and drove back to back, and he even got out of my car. He's like, yeah, that's a better car.
Is it?
The Beat's it was cheap. The interior is just
I've never been in one, but it looks kind of
nice.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you get one that's clean, you can see them pretty cruddy. But if you get one that's got like the zebra pattern seats, and it's clean and it's in good shape, and I prefer the original wheels. A lot of people slap these really horrible, like
rims
on them. Yeah, and they just look horrendous. But there's a lot of Japanese tune-up stuff you can put on them and makes them look terrible.
If you could get a great AZ1 for under 20 grand, it's probably a fun toy. The one that I drove, he wanted what I felt to be a bit too much money for it. But if you can get one for cheap, it is a really fun toy.
Well, the thing about the AZ1 is they really didn't make many of them. I mean, they only made I think Cappuccinos, they made about 28,000 of them, and most, like 80% of them were in the first 2 years. Because all of these really cool K-class cars, the AZ1, the Beat, they all came out in the early 90s. So it was like Japan bubble economy in the 1980s. Everybody, they were like eating food with gold flakes on it and stuff.
Yeah, all of Japan was built in the 80s.
Yeah,
Japan
exactly.
is the future as imagined without Apple, where Panasonic rules the fucking world.
Exactly.
Right?
So then everything crashed in around 1990. Like the whole economy, just the bubble economy in Japan crashed. Well, all of these toy K cars, all these fun K cars had all been engineered in the bubble economy, but the whole economy crashed. So all of these cars came out in like 1991, along with the Miata and the 300ZX.
Yeah.
Unlike those cars, which could be exported, the K cars couldn't.
Yeah.
So they were bound to this, falling apart economy. And so subsequently, not many of them got made. And so the AZ1 especially, because that thing really is a toy.
It's a really, it's a weird
and so
car.
I don't know how many they made, but it was probably fewer than 10,000.
I heard 5,000. That was the number.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And there was actually a Suzuki version for 1 year called the Suzuki Kara. But they're kind of rare. And in Japan, their collectability is starting to go up. I mean, Cappuccinos for years you can buy them for like every used car in Japan you can buy them for nothing. Beats the same. It was like $1,500 for a car with 30,000 miles on it. I mean, they were like really cheap, but now they've started to become collectible in Japan as well. So I don't think the prices are going to go down. That's for sure.
No, they won't go down. But if you can get one it's a fun toy for $18,000.
And you can drive them every day. I mean, there are a lot of
you could daily it for
a lot of the K classes were if you buy the little vans and stuff. I mean, those are much more practical.
Dude, the Honda van that this dude I know has, who puts that little scooter in the back of.
Yeah.
I drove it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it only goes about 65, maybe 70, but as an actual like city vehicle, it was super like efficient and easy to drive and actually kind of like nice.
Yeah, and a lot
Morningstar should actually buy one.
A lot of K-class pickups and vans have been brought in as used farm equipment.
Yeah,
That's how they snuck them in before the 25-year rule. State of Oklahoma, when gas prices were $4 a gallon, state of Oklahoma actually passed a law saying that those were legal. People could buy, because people were like, well, why should I drive my giant Ram 3500 dually into town to get groceries? And they were buying these little K trucks, to drive in. And at the time, gas was really expensive, so the state passed a law saying that they're legal. And then the federal government came along and said, yeah, no, they're not legal. And then and Oklahoma said, fuck you, we get to put the license plates on. We say they're legal. So there was a little bit of a tiff there.
That's the one. That's the one right there, Tim.
Yeah.
That I think Tom should get. Is one of those.
Oh,
things.
in Japan they make RVs out of them too. There's a company in southern Japan called Tent Mushi. It's like it's
the
tent,
Westphalia of
it translates as like tent insect. And so they make K class, and you can, if you put Tent Mushi in, it'll probably come up. And they make little RVs. They're like little tiny RVs out of these K class vans there.
Tent Mushi.
Yeah.
I want to see that. And then we got to wrap this up. This is a 2-hour show, kids. Wow, look at those. Top left
some
there.
of them have like 3 axles on them and stuff.
That's like tents on tents on tents.
Wow, that is.
Zoom in on that. That's like
I so want to do
Optimistic.
a story where we drive around Japan in one of those things.
Optimistic.
hell yeah, dude.
Well, it
That's
helps.
probably
It
kinda
helps to be
fun.
Japanese sized.
Yeah, I bet you that'd be fun for like 2 nights.
two whole nights.
2 whole nights. All right, we got to wrap this one up. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
As always.
Hagerty Magazine. Get it
Hagerty
now by
Magazine,
getting
yeah.
Hagerty
Going from
Insurance.
4 issues to 8 a year. It's a big push.
That's cool. Looks like Architectural Digest. Can you get me like a promo issue at least so I can read on the airplane?
I'll get you all stack.
Get me a thing.
Hand out.
Stack it up.
I will.
All right. Thanks for coming in. You want to plug Twitter, Instagram, any of that shit?
Hagerty.
That's it. Just Hagerty?
We have all that stuff. I'm too new. I don't know.
No, I just meant yours. Do you?
Oh,
Do you
I
do it?
don't do
You
any
don't
of that
know?
stuff.
A man with an Espada has no time for Instagram.
That's
He has no
right.
need. No need.
Espada and an airplane.
And an airplane.
I have
Oh,
signed
that's-
up for serious abuse.
There you go. Flip that up there, Tim, for us. So we can see, look, now you can say you're at work. Here, Hagerty Classic Cars on Instagram as well.
That's
Look at
right.
that hammer. Top right, looking good.
Hammer,
I love it. I
that's
love a
right.
hammer wagon. That's excellent. Thanks for coming in, dude. It's always good to see you.
As always.
The podcast
anytime.
take a fun direction when you're here. Do it
Thank
again
you.
soon. I'm off on adventure drives, which I'm going to be doing when everyone else hears this podcast. So see y'all when I get back. I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. And but don't worry, as you're listening to this content, you'll be like, he's on vacation, but the content has kept flowing. Exactly, motherfucker. That's what the hustle is. The Smoking Tire Podcast is, as always, powered by Shout Engine. Get your own damn podcast at shoutengine.com. You know what to do. You know how to do it. And even if you don't, you go to shoutengine.com, and Chris wrote instructions. It's very easy. If I can have a podcast and I'm a fucking moron, so can you. Good day, kids.